Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. My truck is gonna fight with me for a moment while I turn the ignition off. So, Wani or Nikki, can y'all talk for a second? Because it's not gonna let me have my phone for a second. But it's good to see y'all. We got an interesting day. Yeah, an interesting night in store for you. And I'll see y'all once my truck gives my phone back. See you in a minute.
Yeah, come up, Robbie. Come help us get started.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
Hey.
Peace and blessings, family. Hello, Stacy, Robbie Blue, the Black, Father Time, FBA Brittany, Special K, Running Flame, Housing, Yodi, Sotar, Great Heights, Own Code November 5th, Chan Charles, Ron, Peace to Thee, and Mr. M. Welcome to the space and thank you for spending New Year's Eve with us. Hello, Robbie. How are you and what you been up to? How's your New Year's Eve going?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm checking in. Whenever I see that you guys are hosting a space, I always like to get the information, and you just speak truth to power, and it's like a knife through hot butter. And I had a little bit of a tether nightmare today because I actually came back to East Atlanta. Today is actually my dad's birthday. He was feeling sick. He had the flu, and before I came into town, I'm not going to disclose the lady's name, but I pre-ordered a cake. I cropped a picture of my mom and dad, wanted to put together, and wanted to do something to surprise them, and thought I was supporting an FBA business. And then when I went to pick up the cake, not only was the cake janky, I felt like I needed to call Judge Judy. I mean, I was like, am I being pranked? I'm like, okay, this is a nice gag. This does not look like nothing from your website. And then I heard the accent. And the first thing that came to my mind was what Tariq says all the time, lying and scamming. It's like I didn't even care about the money. I just wanted the person to give me my money's worth. And I was like, I said, Lord, I'm not about to break character. So I had to kind of deviate and get a backup cake from what was it called? The farmer's market. Because we went to some place in Duluth, some wing place that my dad like, and we did it, and, and he's real. I mean, it's something when your parents are really really older, because like my dad is 78 right now, and just him catching the flu and just seeing him really sick, I wasn't going to disrupt the peace in the home. But it's just one of those things going into 2025. How about this, y'all? We leave all the scammers behind, people who want our money, whether they look like us, whether they, even if they don't speak our same language. It's just time, uh for lack of better words, I want to cuss on your program, to just leave all the bullshit behind. I still cannot believe we didn't even cut the cake. Me and my dad was looking. I said, Dad, did I date this woman in the past? And she like is like a jaded lover. She put her fingerprints, like this is CSI, on the side of the cake. Like it literally looked like a crime scene, y'all.
Bitter bitch. Yeah.
Man, no, she just a dusty tether. And she took $140. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, if you needed me to spend some more bread, I would have done it. But when I did my investigation, what I realized was they were taking other people's work, put it up on their website, presented it like they were doing, and they were probably buying the cakes third party. Mind you, I paid this lady a week in advance. Thank God my dad, wasn't tripping. And in the spirit of my mother, rest in peace, who passed away, I just said, you know what? Every loss is an opportunity for you to learn. So I'm just saying this as a cautionary tale for those who think, Tariq is just saying stuff and there's no correlation. This ain't about hating anybody. It's just real. We all know there's scammers out there, but there's people with legitimate websites. I mean, she had the nerve to put watermarks on the picture. I'm like, bitch, I'm too ashamed to show this picture. Just me and my mama had to share a good laugh, in my head, because I was like, this lady cannot seriously expect to keep having a business that is successful. I'm too scared to use a Yelp because I don't be making fake profiles, because I have to go up there with a burner. I need I need Tariq the roaster. You know, I was like, I could smell the must. I was like, I ain't even. I say, as soon as I heard that accent, everything just clicked. I said, oh, here we go, musty tether. You ripped me off, and then she had the nerve. She was looking scared. I said, ma'am, just put it in the back, because then the bitch had the nerve to say, well, if you're 15 minutes late, I'm going to charge you $15. So not only do you kind of have my low key have my credit card information, it's like you made sure I paid up front and you baited and switched. Like she looked like she had my parents floating in the phantom zone. It was supposed to be a red velvet cake. I mean, God rest in peace. I know my mama up there with Biggie and Tupac and Jesus, but I don't want to be reminded of that. I'm like, ma'am, can you just put some decorative flowers? I mean, somebody at Kroger's could have
Did
did a
you take
better
a
job.
picture, huh? Did you take a picture?
I took a picture, but I'm too ashamed to put that up. You know
Okay.
why? You
All right.
niggas can put my head on paper pig, but if they play around with me and play with my mama, nigga, I'm coming to your doorstep. You feel me? That's why I say I salute to you, Nikki. Salute to Professor. Salute to Tariq. People be out here playing games, messing with people's family members, but I put it on everything I love, man. Mama taught me to be Christ-like, but I'm not putting nails in my hands and feet for nobody. So this is my point. In 2025, anybody that's selling wolf tickets, we gonna cash them. If you're a white supremacist, you're gonna get hands and feet, you're gonna get G check. If you somebody out here doing dirty business, that's why I'm calling you out. I didn't do anything wrong. I did proper business. But you think it's okay to scam people. And here's the thing. I even told the lady, I said, I lost my mother last year. It's my dad's birthday. In other words, I'm giving you creative control. If there's an issue with money, you know what I mean? We got the money. Just do a good job. You know what, Nikki?
Make me
I'll
feel
probably
like you
send
should have
you a
just went to
picture.
a white place. Yeah, yeah, you can send. I want to show it.
I'll
And
say
I hate
just
to
so you
say
know I
this,
ain't
but
bluffing.
I would trust one of them before I trust one of them.
But that's the thing. She presented herself like she was FBA, which kind of goes into everything that you guys are saying. You get what I'm trying to say? It wasn't till look, her ad said she had a business establishment. But then when I looked at the fine print, it was like at her house. So then I having to go to her house. I'm going down these narrow roads because you know in Georgia there's some hills and shit. You know a nigga need to get some brakes done on his car. So I was like, Lord Jesus, where does this lady got me going? Where in the wonderful wild world of East Atlanta does she have me going? And then as soon as I pull up, she's out there with her flip flops, ready to just hand me that cake like super quick. It's like she didn't want me to kind of look, but I already requested a picture. To say I was disappointed was an understatement, but here we go again. We don't let people play with our emotions and we don't let people waste our time. You know what I mean? So with that, I'm going to say happy new year to everybody. Let's think positive. Let's focus on winning because there's nothing but winning ahead. So if I gave y'all a little bit of comedy and a cautionary tale, let's just keep it a buck. Oh, and by the way, I'm hitting the treadmill, eating my vegetables, doing what I'm supposed to do. Because soon as Tariq said Robbie Blue with Hidden Colors, I'm shit. I'm gonna be like the Black Authority if I'm looking like David Blunt. You feel me? They'll be like, "Where's Robbie?" Nigga, you see me from the neck down till I get till I get rid of this. Y'all ain't gonna tell me I look like a expired bottle of Pepto Bismol. I'm gonna leave it alone. Peace.
You
Peace.
didn't
Well,
put
Robbie,
people on blast like I would have been like, here's a picture, here's a side by side. This is how much I pay, and this is the people that did this to me. Like for real, this story needs
I
to be shared.
Yeah, I think
put on
it's
put.
something that has to do with
Go
the
ahead.
passing of his
That
mother. It's too sensitive right now. You can tell.
Put her
oh
on.
okay.
Put her on
That's what
Yelp.
it because look,
Uh
Robbie,
there's
I
a
huh.
had a.
picture of my mother and my father on the cake. And what I'm saying is,
Uh huh.
see, I just know how some people play out here. You know what I mean? And I'm
Okay.
gonna keep it a buck.
That
I'm
just
not gonna.
pisses me off. That makes me so
Yeah,
angry. I'm so
yeah.
sorry. It pisses me off for you,
Listen,
and
sis,
I hate
how
it.
angry do you think I was all day? And the sweeter my dad tried to be, the angrier I got. I was like, man. But you know what I say? The wicked never prosper. That's why people
You're
about to
right.
be deported. That's why folks is going to be boycotted. Look, it never fails.
Amen.
Everybody always tries to
Amen.
cosplay as us. And it made me think about what Tariq said about the Majora spirit. See, had that
Mm-hmm.
been an FBA woman, they would have put the extra love in it. Like we
Man, you
didn't even
ain't
cut the cake.
lying.
We just bought something else, you know what I'm saying? And just you know what I'm saying? I'm telling my dad, like, look, mom's memory is not caught up in a material thing. So that cake is gonna get tossed. You know what I'm saying? I probably message her in the morning, be like, hey, that was a nice prank. Now where's my real cake? But see, when people are handling your food and they kind of got some of your information, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to give it an excuse. because
Right. That
it was really
sucks.
weird. It was really weird when I picked up the cake. She gave me a paper and she said, "I need the last four of your license, driver's license," which I thought was like, you have the
The
nerve to try
fuck?
to act
No,
like you
no, no, in
super
the fuck
professional.
she didn't. Oh, sorry, and I'm putting this on the
I
chat.
just said,
Listen,
She
look,
didn't
listen,
need it, but
I had
that's
the
cool.
same reaction. The
That
same
li-
that's
reaction.
cool.
Oh hell
listen.
That's
no.
cool.
Yeah,
What we'll do is we're
Call
gonna
ice
let
on
it.
that bitch.
Yeah, we're gonna let this go for a little while, and I'm gonna talk to you in a. Okay, okay, I'll take care of that. Okay, we're gonna let this go for a minute, and then do they have a just a web not a website where you can put a review on them?
I
Where
think
did
so.
he
I
go?
think it may have. I think it
Yeah,
may have a Yelp.
do it on Yelp. Yeah, you can do it on Yelp. Ladies and gentlemen, my app glitched up when I was asking people to come to the room. So if you would please retreat the room. I was adding all my contacts to come and it glitched. So I don't think it sent it out. So go ahead and if you don't mind, give me a retweet. Um,
I was like, why is he
um,
asking me to retreat? Are you telling me them to retreat? Why? That means leave, right?
well,
You said
yeah,
you wrote retreat, and I said, oh, okay. He meant retweet. Okay, so I'll send it
yeah,
out. I'll send it out. People are coming
yeah.
in
Okay.
here. We got our people are coming in anyway. They got your notifications.
Okay. Cool. So I wanted to tell y'all something. With regards to what Robbie said. So, when me and my wife moved to Atlanta, we kind of discussed what we wanted for Christmas in the beginning this summer, and my wife got a pair of Timberlands from early 2000s. Timberland, they're not boots; they're Timberland boot tennis shoes. You cannot find them anywhere. And she's like, "I want my Timberlands back." I was like, "All right, fine, whatever." So I went and found a cobbler. A cobbler is a shoemaker. There's a cobbler right outside of Atlanta in Douglasville. And I went to the dude and asked him, could he help me? I was like, if he couldn't help me, fine. I was just gonna buy some more Tim's. And he said, yes, I can do it. I need to order soles, blah, blah, blah. It'll be $160, but I need you to pay me up front. I said, look, the only way I'm gonna do this is if I get it for Christmas because it's a Christmas present. And he said, oh, it'll be done before Christmas, no problem. So I paid him, I pay that motherfucker and he gets he does it. So the week before Christmas, he calls me. He's a Jamaican. He from Jamaica, right? Got a American wife. He calls me a week before Christmas and says somebody stole, with some excuse, somebody stole the package that had the souls in it. Now, who gonna steal souls? Now, the point of this is, I'm almost sick and tired of working with foreigners because, like Robbie said, it's a lot of finessing going on. So, you know what I'm saying? He wants me to believe that somebody stole a package that got some Vibram Timberland soles in it.
Did he
And
get
then
your
he
money
showed,
back?
That is
no, I,
diabolical.
I I didn't. I didn't because he reordered it. But it's just the principle. I'm gonna tell nobody to work with him. I'm gonna blast his ass on Yelp. He showed me a package that had a tire mark on it, like a cartoon, and said they gave me empty package that didn't have the soles in them. Now, do you believe that somebody would steal a goddamn package that got some soles to some Timberland boots in it? That's the type
Do
of
you have a
finessing they do.
rotary phone? Do you have a rotary phone nearby that's
Ah,
connected to to the wall that you could disconnect from the wall the next time he's
no,
leaving?
no. Yeah, but Robbie, I'm sorry you're going through that, but I want to tell you something, Robbie. Next year, in a couple hours, we're going to have a transformation. 2025 is a year of completion. It's the end of a cycle. The Egyptians believe the highest number is nine. Nine is the number of completion. It takes 9 months for a baby to come out. Gravity's pushing down you on at 9.8 meters per second. Nine plus 8 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. There are 9 planets in the solar system. Nine is a very powerful number, and it's the end of a cycle. So a lot of things are going to end in a couple hours. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's going to be a great number for foundational Black Americans. All this bullshit and oppression is going to end this year. Our attitudes are already shifting. Y'all know something's different. So, Robbie, look forward to this next year. I think this is going to be. I know this is going to be our year, brother. Um, but
And you
with
know,
that being
2025 is 2, 2, and 5, 9.
right,
There you go.
right, right. So the
I
question
just love it.
in the chat, the question in the chat is, do Africans use 23&Me to cosplay FBA? So Wani, could you or Nikki, could you explain to them more eloquently the case where Africans are using 23&Me to kind of attach themselves to FBA lineage?
So basically, there's some videos out on YouTube. I just been scrolling through this stuff all day. There are some people who said that they ran their 23&Me and they found some distant cousins in America with African lineage, and that they have cousins who are FBA. And some of them are saying, "Well, oh, so does that mean we're qualified? Does that does that mean we're qualified for reparations now?" And now there are African people sending out 23&Me. They're selling them to other Africans and encouraging them to look for their quote unquote African American cousins. For some reason, they're thinking that there's a new rule or something that's going to allow them to be eligible for reparations, our reparations, if they have some fake distance cousin. And it's just a scam. It can't happen. That's not how this works. We've been doing this for how many years? Like 3, 4 years consistently. That's not how this isn't. It's not going to work.
Yeah, but the idea of that drives me crazy. That's why I decided to make this the topic of the room tonight. That's the idea of that, trying to sneak your way into our claim. This is a claim that we paid for with blood, sweat, and tears. We're still paying for. I remember, and I'm not very old, but I remember walking down the street in Birmingham, Alabama, when I was in high school, not that long ago, and white boys driving down the street throwing beer bottles at me and my sister while calling us nigger. We have been through trauma and we need our paycheck. And how goddamn dare you come near my reparations claim? Get back. But I just wanted to let y'all know that this is what's going on. They're trying to find a way to sneak in our reparations claim. And if you hear me on the sound of my voice, you are not welcome to my claim. Get away from my claim. If you want a claim, take it up, depending on where you're from. If you're from Ghana, take it up with England. If you're from Senegal, take it up with France. Do your work. I remember I left Ghana. I went to Ghana for a summer a couple summers ago, and when I left, uh, I saw that the president of Ghana, I think his name's Kufu Addo. Kufu Addo saw us trying to get reparations, and now he's trying to file a reparations claim. It's ridiculous. Do they follow us around doing everything?
Yes.
What you got, Wani?
Um, I was just going to say that there's no way that they can backdoor in because they are trying to backdoor in like Liberia. I'm not against Nova Scotia so much because they did go on the Underground Railroad, but Liberia got a whole country. That was your reparations. If it didn't work out because you were surrounded by them, that's not our problem. That's a gamble that you took to be the leadership class, and they did have their heyday. They did have a lot of success over there. We did not experience that, so they should not be able to experience everything we're experiencing. The only other people,
Right.
yeah, the only other people are the people in Nova Scotia, if you can pinpoint them, if they're on the census, because they do have, there is a possibility that they could be on a census. There is a possibility that they could be listed on the census, and they should benefit. Although I'm not, I think that Canada should deal with it personally.
Well,
Well, think about it. What scares a vampire the most? The potential of shutting off their blood supply. They are so used, not just the Africans, the white women, everybody. When we really think about it, and I was even telling my dad today, I said, man, it is a shame. It's a travesty how we opened the door, and because of our majority spirit and us just having, like, we made Christianity real, as Farrakhan said, we've allowed people to be bloodsuckers. And I do mean that disrespectfully. And think about it. If you starve out a vampire, what will happen? They'll start eating each other. And that's what's going to start happening, in my humble opinion.
Well, you're right, Robbie Blue. You're right. Historically, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is being recorded, Nikki, because I want to write down what Robbie just said because he's on point. Historically, that has been our place in society is keeping White Americans, remember, white was a word created in diametric opposition to us. What do you mean, Professor A? What do I mean? I mean is before foundational black Americans or really Africans or any of us were in the mix, Europeans were feeding on themselves. They were going to war. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, that's what the transatlantic slave trade was about, getting money to go to war with each other, right? The foundational black America coming in the mix, being a slave, being the convenient target. It's our existence is keeping Europeans away from destroying each other, and I will say that in a court of law because it's a fact. Matter of fact, let's go to Dr. Howard Zinn, if we will, page 227. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start on 226 in the People's History of the United States. Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, the immigrants from Ireland fleeing starvation. We're talking about the Irish now. Fleeing starvation where the potato crop failed. We're coming to America now, packed in old sailing ships. So the Irish were over in their homeland starving to fucking death, right? And they got an opportunity to come over here to do better. That's good, but it ain't my problem. On page 227, Dr. Zen asks a very important question. The question is, quote, how could these new Irish immigrants, themselves poor and despised, become sympathetic with the black slave, who was becoming more and more the center of attention, the subject of agitation in the country? Indeed, most working class activists at this time ignored the plight of the blacks. Eli Moore, New York trade union leader elected to Congress, argued in the House of Representatives against receiving abolitionist petitions. He says racist hostility became an easy substitute for class frustration. That's been our place. We're an easy target to keep people away from the fact that they're starving half to goddamn death because they didn't know how to plant potatoes or it got cold. Not a foundational black Americans problem, or they're getting murdered on the streets of Italy and they don't have clout. So let me run over here and get some clout. Or in the case of our African cousins, their country's collapsing because they're scamming each other and they want to come over here and make a better life for themselves at our expense. We have been the food for how many years? But guess what? 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 is the number of completion, and all this bullshit is over. It's complete.
There's been multiple scams targeted at us. And this is just one of them. They can't reverse engineer themselves into our lineage. You need to have some paperwork. And they don't have any paperwork. They don't have any records. They never have records of anything. They just have some random DNA that supposedly is related to us. That's like me saying I'm related to the Queen of England because some European DNA is flowing through my veins. They don't have any paperwork. Even if I am related to the Queen of England, so what? It's too far away. It's not on our paperwork. And these are scams that they just won't stop perpetrating. First they had to welcome home, repatriate yourself, welcome back to Africa. We're not from there. So why would we repatriate something that we were never a part of? Uh, People got over there, they got scammed. One recent case, a guy had a thriving business on the ocean. He was making a lot of money and they put him in jail and took all of his equipment and trumped up some charges against him that he didn't do anything. So they have these scams. The other one is they not only do these direct scams like with African Ancestry, where they say, oh, just find out your tribe. Well, what about the rest of the person? One tribe? I have 38 African countries listed in my DNA. What tribe are we gonna say that I'm a part of? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, they say that, and then they inspire people to go over to these places so they can be ripped off. They're taking advantage of the sentimentality that we have for Africa as this lost place. And that's why we need to get rid of it because it's just manufactured. I guarantee you, you're not going to go over there and feel welcomed or wanted or any of that. These scams that they've been doing uh, in 2016, they signed a joint letter, the Secretary General of NUD and a doctor, an executive director of political affairs, and they said the Nigerian Americans, now they're speaking about people in Nigeria, and they're calling us Nigerian Americas. trace their history in the United States back to over centuries ago and have contributed immensely in all spheres of the U.S. national development. Okay? We did that. They say we didn't do any of that. They said we are just crackhead baby mamas. But yet, when they're writing to steal our legacy, they say that they are the people. They say that we are Nigerian Americans that have built the United States of America. They claimed our culture, and this is something that I've noticed. They're really just in real time trying to get us to disappear. So they're saying that I am a Nigerian, so where's the Black American? It disappears. It's the same thing they're doing with soul food. They've got a Nigerian trotting around, hanging out with Obama, another ethnocidal beast, telling everybody that Nigerians created soul food. Nigerians are the root of soul food. And at the same time, we have a white woman or white women like Paula Deen running around saying, oh, soul food is white food. It's white Southern cooking. And they rebranded it to Southern cuisine. Oh, so now am I to understand that Nigerians created white American food? They have squeezed us on both sides. Why would two people fight? Very illogical fight to get our stuff if it wasn't something of value.
Right, right. Dr. Claude Anderson spells it out on page 102 of Black Labor, White Wealth. Then an essay called "Blacks and Ethnic Immigrants Compete for Resources." It's a finesse, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Anderson said a continuing flow of immigrants, decade after decade, from 1607 to present day, came believing that America abounded with freedom and wealth. Common sense dictate that they had anticipated they would have faced the kind of life most Black people face. Immigration would have ceased immediately after the first boatload arrived. The flow of immigrants never ceased because they were never treated like blacks. Now, if you look back through the epic of history, you'll see that the first couple of waves of the immigration attack, that's what I like to call it, were from quote unquote European or white or amalgamated into whiteness groups. But what's made this last attack so confusing since the 70s is these immigrants are black looking people. So they come in cosplaying like they're us while they take opportunities from us. When I was professing at a historically black college, they were taking opportunities to go to medical school from my students, from my FBA students. Their professors who were getting paid off our dollar to teach at the school would get up in open venue and talk about how stupid FBA students were in front of me. I lost my job for confronting one. And last but not least, believe it or not, they're getting spots in our historically black fraternities and sororities at the expense of foundational Black American students. Dr. Anderson further says, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interacting with blacks. Stop right there. That's their utility in this system. Is like Dr. Anderson said, they give whites an alternative. Should I operate with Nikki? Well, I don't know. I don't want to give Nikki a job because she might help other foundational Black American people. So I'm gonna give this African girl a job and on the slick, make sure that she's poisoning Nikki and what I'm saying, making sure, I mean, poisoning metaphysically, not helping. They don't have allegiance to our lineage. So they're used as a tool, as a weapon. And what we're seeing now, since we but last but not least, last thing I was going to say is they've had it both ways because they've been letting the white management class use them as a tool, and they get around us. And with our spirit, our majority spirit, we've been nurturing them, allowing them into our groups, allowing them into our fraternities and sororities, allowing them into the historically black colleges, allowing them into our medical and law schools. And then when they get in a position of power, like Sheila Jackson Lee, they turn around and bite us and stab us in the back. But now, for the first time, what we're seeing is foundational Black Americans just politely saying, hold your own thing, get out my way. And they freaking out. Nikki, Wani, do you witness a freak out, or is that just my imagination?
Yes, there's a massive freak out. And this is a pivot that we're going to have because since the days of slavery, since those plantation days, we've had to welcome everybody with open arms. We weren't in a position to say, hey, I'm from Mali and you're from Senegal. I don't want to work with you. I don't want to pick cotton with you. We weren't in a position to do that. So we became accustomed to welcoming all these different people and trying to get along with all these different people with their languages and aesthetics and whatever else they had. Um, we've had to do that, but we're going to have to pivot because we're the only ones who have been doing it. Okay, that's the problem. These other people have not been doing that. They have not been welcoming people. They can't even get along with neighboring tribes. They will hatchet each other to death. There are pits of bodies all over Africa. They don't mind taking out millions of people and they just pin it on some, whatever European is around. And just like with in the Congo, I literally believed that the Belgian army butchered billions of people. That's what I was told. I was told that. But in reality, the Belgian army went and got some Nigerians and some people from Sierra Leone and brought them over to the Congo to be the military. The military was men of African descent. But later, I mean, they butchered people forever. Later, they replaced those Nigerians and Sierra Leonean soldiers with Congolese soldiers who didn't seem to have a problem hatcheting up people. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they were hatcheting their same tribe, but they were from the Congo and they didn't seem to have a problem chopping people's limbs off and doing all of these atrocious things. And they have not really changed. They're still doing these genocides right now. They're still abducting children and throwing them in cobalt mines. So I haven't seen any changes in them, and I don't know why we think that there is a change. They have very high rates of murdering their wives in Nigeria, and they also bring that same thing over here. Now, when we go over to Africa, for some reason, we don't seem to notice the insults. Like, we accept these insults from these people simply because they're of African descent, and it's weird. I've done it myself. I just take it like, they say some under the breath thing, and then you're talking to someone. Did they say something, or do they have a problem? They extort us, harass us, hurl insults, ethnic slurs, overcharge us, even more than white people in some cases. And they make money off of these slave trade memorials, museums, slave castles, doors of no return, all these types of things. Um, they have these, like I said earlier, the tourist traps, year of the return, and they prey on us. They can't stop preying on us. They can't stop making money off of us, even though they never made any money because they're not good business people. And when we try to go over to these places, like I said before, and one of the worst cases was these two American women who went over there. They were, from Detroit, die-hard Pan-Africanists, 175, 169. They purchased some land legally, and some neighboring guy said, "That's my land. This is my tribal land. Get off of it." No, no thanks. And so they had to go to court. The court was like, "Well, of course it's your land. You bought it. This guy's just random. Who is he? He can't say that's his tribal land. He didn't buy anything." The guy murdered. He raped and murdered those women, and they put him on a rope. But that's not good enough. We can't live like that. We can't trust people like that. And that's what we've been doing. Anyone else?
Anyone new to the stage? Would anyone like to chime in?
Oh, I was talking and I had the damn mute button on. That keeps happening. So I'm putting a picture. Wani brought up being charged in a museum where we were sold from. I'm gonna put up a damn picture. Some of you've seen this before. But this picture I'm putting up is from Ghana. It's Elmina Castle, where we were sold. A lot of us were sold from. And when I went there 2 years ago, they charged me money to go in, which I was like, why in the fuck are you charging me to go somewhere where you sold me from? But all right, you charging, cool. Um, as a professor, I carry a camera around to get evidence for my claims and what I'm writing about or studying for primary source. And they tried press because I had a camera. No, 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 brother, we're gonna charge you different rate because you have camera, your media, your press. That's what you're dealing with. It's like a straight finesse. You know what I'm saying? I'm still offended by that. I mean, we're still dealing with levels of trauma because of the Elmina Castle. If you don't believe me, purchased my book. In my book, I wrote about some shit I never heard about. In Elmina, they would actually rape, pick the girl they wanted to rape every morning to with intent of getting. We're talking about enslaved girl to get her pregnant to have a mixed race baby. They put the mixed race babies in a whole nother boat and sold them at a higher premium. The mixed race babies were created to sow division in the United States and in the Caribbean. Have y'all ever wondered why people in leadership in America typically were light-skinned people? That was designed off the coast of Africa at Elmina Castle. By the way, the castle that they charged me money to go into. That's what we're dealing with. It, like Dr. John Henry Clark said, we have no friends, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, these celebrities, these African celebrities, have come over here. Cynthia Revo. I don't know if people are familiar with this. Ihoma Ofordier. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lovey, Akon, and Burna Boy have identified themselves as British and English, etc. And they describe Black Americans as lost without roots, and call us a kata, which is just strange. They're over there right now arguing with the Irish, telling them they don't know what Irish means. Um, they flee over to the West from colonized, Christianized, Arabized, Europeanized, Muslimized countries created by the Berlin Conference. All of their flags are created, most of their names are created by Europeans, either recently or in antiquity. Um, we have a distinct culture, and I don't know why that is so offensive. We have never pulled rank like this before. We just took it for granted, you know? And if we had kept the word colored, people wouldn't be able to do that. Africans would not be able to say they're colored because they know what colored means. It means mixed. Everybody in this country that was a Black American was considered colored. They wouldn't be able to come over here because they know colored, like in South Africa and other places, means a mixed race individual. But because we chose the term Black, and because white people are very sloppy with terms and they stopped calling themselves Caucasian and calling Africans um, Africoid and all this type of thing, they just say white and black, white race, black race, and that infringes on our term Black American. That's how we got here. Africans are the African race. Black Americans are not the African race. They're a mixed race group. So we're not even the same race, but because we said black, which I'm going to keep saying, I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving up any names that we've ever been called. They have a name. All of these people have multiple names. If they're Nigerian, they're Nigerian, Nigerian American. They can say, I am African. They can say their country name. They can say their tribe name. Why do they need to say that name? A name that they never used before, a name that they don't use on the continent. Nobody is confusing them for white people. Okay? Why are you needing to use that name? We know it's to infringe upon us. And that's the issue that we have. We have people that have a takeover spirit that don't have any respect for our lineage. We should not have to fight like this For our lineage, no one on earth has to do this. People respect the boundaries. You don't have people in Poland saying they created pizza and arguing and fussing with Italians. They respect the boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Claude, let me go ahead and let's clear this up right quick. Why are they doing that? Why are they upset with us delineating? Well, Dr. Claude Anderson puts it real clear on page 102 of Black Labor White Wealth. Dr. Anderson says, quote, a major myth is that there's been a competition between blacks and ethnic groups. There have been no such competition. Ethnics simply bumped blacks for whatever they were interested in getting because they were higher in the social order preference. That's it right there. The deal that the elite founders class of the America, the white slave owner class made, and now the elites in that place made was if you come over here, I'm gonna let you take whatever black Americans have. It's a hierarchy, you understand? And it's very hurtful to see Africans do it. But I spent 3 years of my academic career watching members of the diaspora prey on our opportunities. Keep in mind, historically black colleges were created in most part to close the gap, the academic gap between and the educational gap between whites and blacks in America due to chattel slavery. Howard was an exception because Howard was created for mulattoes. Deal with it. And there's some speculation that Hampton was created for mulattoes. Just go ahead and deal with it, Hampton alum. Prove me wrong. Don't get mad. Get smart. Prove me wrong. Um, However, the rest of them were created to promote equality, right? Well, you have people of the diaspora coming to our historically black colleges and taking these opportunities from us. But if we knew the history, that's where history becomes so important, ladies and gentlemen, because if we knew the history, we would not be confused. Let's go ahead and take a trip to the land of Dr. Snyder, a husband and wife, who wrote a very important book you never heard of called Slavery in America. You can't find it, it's not for sale anymore. Dr. Snyder's plural said the slaves are bought by African traders at fairs, which are held for that purpose, right? Dr. Snyder say free Africans as a group by no means objected to the slave trade. Enslavement did not offend their moral sense. As far as the record shows, though nobody wanted to be enslaved, only a few Africans protested against the slave trade. Only a few people in the continent of Africa protest against the slave trade. What does that tell you? Well, I'm gonna tell you what the hell that tells you. Look at my picture in the jumbotron, if you will. Get a good peek at that picture. I know I'm handsome, but don't look at me. Look around me. I'm gonna give you 8 seconds to do so. That's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What did you notice? Do you see a fucking neighborhood around Elmina Castle? That neighborhood's been there for thousands of years. So why didn't they break us out of that slave castle? Well, Dr. Snyder's just told you. They didn't break us out that slave castle because they was getting a cut. They were complicit in the slave trade. Bingo. There is no allegiance. You coming up here calling me brother when your ancestors sold me. Get it through your head, black Americans. That's what it is. I know it's hurtful, but let me go ahead and put a nail in the coffin if you would let me. Dr. Snyder says, quote, the slave trade is what he or she's talking about, or he and she. The trade not only commercialized the whole economy and changed everyday life of Africans, but it also corrupted them. Allegedly, African kings sold wives with whom they were angry. African parents sold children with whom they could not feed. And hold on one second. And desperate Africans sold themselves. Barbeau told of a son who defeated his royal father's efforts to sell him by first selling his father, only to be met on his return home by fellow tribesmen who took his profits and sold them. That's the culture you're dealing with. You're dealing with people who are selling their wife. I'm mad at my wife, so I'm gonna sell her into slavery. You're dealing with people who sold their son, father and son mad at each other. I'm gonna sell you into slavery. No, I'm gonna sell you first. There is no allegiance. There was no allegiance. So, God damn it, in 2025, don't look for any allegiance now. I digress.
That is just amazing.
That's
But I noticed the same thing happening during the Salem witch trials. People were selling, saying that people were witches. Go ahead, Nikki.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's right, Professor. You tell him. Now go ahead, Wani.
So I wanted to do one of a quote from Akon. He said that we just gotta let it go. Did he let go of that hairline while it was flying off the back of his head? No.
Ah,
You see what we have to deal
Convict.
with? Another insult to us was a designer in South Africa. He designed some neckties that looked like nooses around people's necks. And he was resistant to get rid of it. He finally did, but he had some resistance. I mean, I don't understand why these people have this type of resistance and don't understand what they're doing. These things don't affect them personally, so they don't care that they affect others. They don't have that spark of humanity that I'm expecting to see, and I keep being disappointed over and over again. Another thing, I'm going to go down the list of things that I just don't like. Um, we know that they have these non-Black American media platforms that just get on there all day portraying us as degenerate hip hop characters with no fathers, but they don't talk about their own stories. That's how they've convinced themselves that they don't have any kind of social problems. They don't want to talk about the astronomical rates of infidelity, paternity fraud, gang activity, pedophilia, child brides, drug use, organized crime, genocides, and everything else that's going on over there, 400 and some scams. They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about rap artist explosions, something that some rap artist did, and attribute that to everybody, just normal people living in the United States of America. We live in every state, and they don't want to admit that. We have history in every state. They want to boil us down to a bunch of crackheads living in Chicago. No matter where we live in America, it's better than where they're living, and they know it.
That's a
but
fact.
Chicago isn't what they're trying to make it out to be either.
Chicago's nice. What you
Yeah.
talking about? I lived in Memphis the last 11 years, and Memphis got some ghettos. I love Memphis, but it got some ghettos. And I remember when I got off that plane from Africa and landed in Memphis, which is the airport's kind of near South Memphis, the Young Dolph neighborhood. When I had a clear comparison of what the African shanty towns look like, man, the ghetto looked like Beverly Hills, man. So don't let anybody talk about the ghetto. The ghetto is nice compared to some of these places. We're gonna go to Dayota, then we're going to John Horse. Dayota, what's on your mind, man?
Thank you, brother professor, for allowing me to speak. But this just reminds me of a quote that I got from you. Like, because I think you was quoting this, so don't quote me verbatim. If it was, if you think that white people had kidnapped our enslaved ancestors on the land of Africa, then you're stupid. Something like that. It was something like that, and I think people need to really understand how complicit that Africans was in the transatlantic slave trade. And yes, it's a weird need to try to force themselves onto us. I don't know why. I don't know why they don't placate that with any other group. But yeah, that's it. That's all I want to say.
What Dayota,
Forcibly.
what Dayota said was very powerful. And if you look at page 7 of Dr. Snyder's Slavery in America from Colonial Times to the Civil War, they say this quote, the slaver captain, that's the captain of the slave ship. I want y'all to get out a pen and paper and write this shit down. The slaver captain had to depend on Africans at every turn. When he arrived with his trading goods, he did not dare leave them unguarded on the beach. He had to hire an African captain of the sand to watch over them until he could hire other Africans to transport them inside the fort. When he bought slaves, he had to employ a captain of the slaves to get them to the beach. Then he had to house them somewhere until he could complete his cargo. He learned that if he loaded immediately the slaves he first bought first, no, that's right, first bought, he ran the risk of having them jump overboard. If he kept them in chains too long, many of them inconveniently sickened and died. So he arranged to send his early purchases to the barracoons, that's the holding pens, in the forts to be guarded and fed by Africans under a captain of the trunk. If he did not find enough slaves for sale on the coast, he might have to entrust trading goods to Africans who would make excursions inland to buy slaves for him. That sounds like complicity to me. If it wasn't for Africans on every term helping the Europeans, the transatlantic slave trade would have never happened, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
Wani, go.
very organized too. I noticed there is an article, it was so funny. It says Africans denounced the Afro. They were criticizing our Afros, by the way, from overseas. They've been a pain in the butt for a long time, but I just didn't know it because I was barely born. Anyway, they said Africans denounced the Afro. Ironic backlash. Afro hairstyle, a U.S. original, Africans say, and that was 1970. But I have seen some afros over in Ethiopia in the 1800s. So it just wasn't very popular. It was not a traditional style, apparently, in West Africa. They didn't understand it, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to understand it. Um, some of the other things that we're being told that we're not being inclusive and we're being divisive for not sharing everything that we've developed here in the United States. I need to point out that there's an actor named Joseph Van Vicker, and he is Ghanaian. He faced death threats from Nigerians for appearing in Nollywood performances. So they were going to kill him because he looked better than them, by the way. And they didn't want him in any of the movies, but they need to be plastered across all of our people, and then they dare us to say something. Um, Also, uh, Idris Elba, he's having all kinds of identity crisis. As you know, he's a Ghanaian, he's Sierra Leonean, he's British, he's just all over the place. He says he doesn't want to be called a black actor anymore, but he wants to play a whole bunch of black American roles. Are you white now? I mean, do they know what they look like? And do they have some sort of body dysmorphia? Is that what it's called?
Oh, Idris is an English.
Dysmorphia?
He's an Englishman. He's
Yeah,
English.
he wants to be Bond.
You know, Malcolm, our brother Malcolm X said some real hot shit back in the day. Malcolm X said if a cat has kittens in an oven, that does not make them biscuits. Go ahead, John Horse.
That was a crazy saying right there. That was wild. That was wild. But nah, one of the things too that I've noticed too about why they're trying to break us away from our like history here, specifically the tethers, why they're trying to break us away from it is because of our brand. Like we have like we're of course like we know about like, our, stolen labor and we're owed reparations, but here on this soil, bro, like we're culturally very, 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 very rich here. We're very culturally rich here in the United States. Like we literally make the United States what it is. The concept of freedom doesn't, I always say the concept of freedom doesn't come from the slave master or the founding fathers. It comes from the slaves. Because how can a slave master talk about freedom when he takes freedom from millions of people? Like it's just that doesn't make any sense. It's just contradictory in itself. And so when we step across seas and things like that, our brand to these other groups of people, when we step to like London or China or anywhere that we go, we're not looked at the same way as like a Caribbean or African. We're looked at totally different. So when we go to places and stuff like that, these people look at us like damn near superheroes. Like, how did y'all, how were you, able to come out of the conditions that y'all were in and still move the way that we move? And the Africans, they have a major issue with that because they weren't expecting us to be like, like Wani was sitting there saying, once they sold us, they expected us to die. That was the main purpose of, during slavery. After you build everything, the Europeans and or the Arabs, what they would do is after the slaves finish building everything that they, were supposed to create, they would wipe them out. And that never happened to us. And a lot of the Africans, they have a major issue with it because how is it that y'all were like literally, like on the bottom, bro? We sold y'all. We literally sold y'all, and you're basically, in spite of everything that you've been through, you know what I'm saying? The world looks at you as the beacon of hope, and they don't look at us like that. We're Africa. We're supposed to be Mother Africa, and nobody looks at us as the spectrum of what blackness is supposed to be, and that hurts them.
Yeah, but Bobby Hemmett said it's prophesized that liberation is coming from the West. And their statue is a famous statue in West Africa of the black man, woman, and child pointing towards America for liberation. So people know what's up. You know what I'm saying? People know what's up.
Now, the Organization of African Unity demanded reparations from the West, in quotation marks, for their kidnapped, in quotation marks, uh, citizens. They asked for that at the Durban Conference 2001. So they have been trying to scam the international community and pretend that they're us. Our people were kidnapped. Give us money. You destroyed our west coast of Africa buying people from us. We didn't get any money. Give us money. What? What about the people that got sold? What about that lineage? Where did they go? Oh, don't worry about them. Just give us your cash. They didn't get anything. They probably got laughed out of there. They literally overlooked the descendants of the enslaved in the United States of America. Didn't mention us. Just said, oh, our people were stolen. We've suffered a loss. Give us money. Um, I just want to point out that they've been doing a lot of things against us, and it's very subtle, and we don't notice it a lot of times, even with the George Floyd situation. Two Africans involved in calling, and one Palestinian store owner. And this man, Malik, said he's in hiding under a false name. He said he arrived from West Africa to join relatives that were living in Minnesota. And he says he had lived abroad while he was a baby. English is his second language. And he told this reporter that he was not aware of the dynamic between Black Americans and the police. We can't have this kind of person around just calling the police over a counterfeit bill that was never found to be counterfeit and never made its way to court. Another time, when we're talking about this imaginary allegiance that we have with Africans, this is what Malcolm X said. Some African leaders at this conference, which was the Organization of African American Unity, have suggested that they have enough problems to be concerned about the Afro-American issue. We've had an issue for a long time, and Africans just told us to kick rocks. That was 1963. And they have never used their UN seats to advocate for us, no matter what we've gone through. They have gotten power. They use their power to talk about Palestinians. South Africa used its UN seat and its power to talk about Palestinians. And I said, why? Oh, they helped us. We helped you. We toppled apartheid. We boycotted. We wore Nelson Mandela t shirts. People didn't know who he was. We made Nelson Mandela a thing. Okay. We boycotted all of those apartheid companies, put pressure on the United States. The United States wanted them to be in apartheid. Okay. And we pressured the Congressional Black Caucus until they filed petition after petition. It got more and more noisy. And the next thing you know, they just crumbled. We demanded sanctions on them and they crumbled. They couldn't stand the heat. That was us. But according to them, because some Arab people gave them some guns that they never used, we should expect them to help Palestinians and never speak up for Black Americans. Another
Oh,
time where it shows a lack of allegiance is when I was in South Africa and it said no, it said some sign about no Black people allowed, but I don't remember the wording. And I wouldn't go in there. They said, "Oh, you can come in here and film. It's okay." No, no, you come out here. I'm not going anywhere where it says people of my background shouldn't go. So I refuse to go in. But that's not the way they act. So when Kofi Annan was here, wanting to get his hair cut, and the barber said, "I don't cut N-word hair." Kofi replied, "I'm not an N-word, I'm an African." Not only does that say that I have no allegiance to Black Americans or their problems, I just care about what I can get out of there. It just shows a lack of just, they don't have any humanity. They don't even care. I mean, this man literally did not care that that man said the N word to him and did not serve us. He didn't turn away. He didn't say, "Well, maybe you can take me to a barber in a Black American neighborhood." One of the other things I think people already know, that when they get into political office, the first thing they will say is, "Forget about slavery, don't talk about reparations, or let's have a reparations bill, and then I won't ever pass it through or push it for decades." One Nigerian man even ran on the promise of getting rid of Black History Month. Why? It has nothing to do with him. And that's what we're dealing with.
you also
Yeah,
gotta also one thing
go.
too that I noticed about reparations. Um, One of the main reasons why I kind of have a feeling why they don't actually advocate for reparations in their homelands is because even if not, let's just say for instance Nigeria or Ghana were to get reparations from Britain or some shit like that, majority of the people there not even gonna get it because they gonna be stealing from each other. Those nations and shit up there, bro, they gonna be fucking coming. Oh, cool, yeah, reparations, nigga. The fucking people running the country gonna steal like they been doing, like how they do now with all the money. They gonna steal the money. Same in the Caribbean. Them people who running everything down there, reparations gets passed. None of the regular people down at the bottom getting anything, but all those people who at the top, they gonna get everything. So they kind of have a they kind of understand that, and they know for us that's why they kind of trying to slowly inch their way into our stuff to try to finesse it. But we're not. I'm so glad that we started delineating. Perfect timing.
Yeah, it's all in due time. Dr. Snyder says on page 2, he or she, I don't know, it's a husband and wife couple that wrote the book, said, quote, "Slavery by its very nature invited corruption. A desire for more slaves could cause a war or prompt kidnappings. The system might tempt a tribesman to enslave his unwanted wife or his enemy within the tribe." What where West Africa went wrong, and I know West Africa is not a country, is a culmination of territorial kingdoms. The whole idea of countries in Africa is a European concept, which we need to talk about in another space, because the country, uh, the jurisdictional country concept doesn't really work in Africa. It's European, and some scholars speculate that they do that to control Africa. Well, it used to be territorial kingdoms. What corrupted these slavery, the concept of slavery corrupted on a physical and a spiritual level this system. That's kind of what John Horst was talking about. All this corruption, all this scamming on some level can be traced back to getting involved with the slave trade. Now, was that Is that divine? Is that God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, saying, oh, okay, you want to sell your brother? Well, I'm not going to give you luck. Is it karma? I don't know, but I know that it is. Stephanie, what's on your mind?
Hey, salute to the entire chat. Professor Allen, Wani, Nikki, I'm sorry I didn't get shout you out last night. I didn't realize it until I got off. I got an idea for you, Nikki, to do a space about Black nurses. Okay.
Yeah, I was
Um,
thinking about that today. Yeah,
We talked
we were
about
doing
that.
that. Yeah,
yeah,
Hmm.
we were talking about that today.
we definitely need more Black nurses because I know here in New York they have a huge shortage of nurses, and they desperately need nurses now. So if you can hold the space, I have some information. Hopefully, we can, rub some ideas together.
Oh, I will definitely be holding a space. I will
Okay,
definitely have it. Mhm.
thanks, Nick.
Mhm.
Okay, first off, salute to you guys for the space. I don't think I'm more pissed off than I am right now. Salute to you, Miss Wilson. I see you down there too. I salute to everybody. Happy New Year's. First off, I'm at work and I'm just listening to everything, and I can't be more pissed off than I am right now. And people want to say FBA is a cult. I don't think there's no bigger cult than the Pan African movement. I'm dead serious. This is really out of control. I mean, this is up there with the Democratic Party. It's almost like if you want to leave or change parties, you damn near get death threats for just saying, hey, I don't want to pledge my allegiance to this organization anymore. This is absolutely disgusting. And to just hear about using 23&Me to find out if you're related to somebody, it's almost as like you're literally killing the host. It's a parasite literally killing the host. You're just feeding off the energy of the host that you're in. And it is absolutely disgusting. And, like I said, to just think that Martin Luther King raised money to bring the first group of Africans here to go to the universities here. Okay. I'm really outraged. And I'm like, I can't even put it into words because number one, we did not start this mess. So despite what's being said on the internet, we've seen a YouTube video. Some of us snuck in the clubhouse. Some of us snuck into these spaces. That's why they don't hold these spaces out in the open like that anymore, like they used to. But now they're starting to get bolder and saying, hey, these people, whether they like it or not, they're African. Why is it that you're so obsessed with calling us Africans when we keep telling you we haven't been in Africa in well over 500 plus years? Okay, possibly even longer than that, because a lot of us was already here before the first group of Africans actually came here. I don't understand. Um, there was a video about maybe a year and a half ago. No, about a year ago. And the video, there was like a few content creators in Gambia. Okay. First off, nobody's talking about the American wives that's being killed over there. There were like 6 or 7 different American born women that were murdered by their husbands in Gambia. Okay. No one is talking about that. Secondly, there were videos from content creators on the continent, and they're saying that Black Americans are coming over to their country, taking over their country, and that they wanted us out of there. They did not say one thing to the Chinese. No one is saying anything to the Russians. No one is saying anything to the British. Okay. Let alone the Western Americans that's going over there and going through their resources and soil. Nobody is saying anything to the Israelis that's over there going into their minds and becoming billionaires. No one is saying anything about that. But you're obsessed and have an obsession that's pretty much hate at this point against 46 to 50 million Black Americans in this country. I cannot fathom that. And it's really, I mean, I'm like really to the point where I'm like, forget it. I started blocking a few people because at some point it's almost maddening. If you keep with this and you don't just take a break from this, you'll literally go crazy. Or it can make your anger towards them turn to hate. Because at some point this is very unhealthy. And they don't realize that the people that used to look out for them, because I was a huge Pan-Africanist a few years ago, and I got turned off just by seeing all of the nasty, disgusting things that people were saying. And that's why there's a saying, never bite the hand that feeds you, because you bitten off the fingers, almost bit the whole hand off at this point, because it's on the way to that. And this is why Black Americans are absolutely fed up, because there's so much that we can take. Yes, we are a loving people. We're not perfect, but we love and we look out for people. We look out for people more than our own here in the US. And that's facts. We take up for people other than our own more than we do our own. But now that we're starting to realize it, the tides are turning, just like the professor said. The tides are turning. And once that tide fully turns, that's it. There's no turning back. And I'm just going to land with that. And I just want to say thank you once again. Happy New Year's to everybody. I wish everybody nothing but the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And to back up what Stephanie said, our dear brother, Dr. Dick Gregory said, when a baby's being born, all of Napoleon's men, all the men in France can't stop the baby from being born. That's the position we're getting at. We're getting to a point where we've been denied justice for so long that it's inevitable. It can't be stopped. You know what I'm saying? We've reached a critical mass of disgust with this mess. I mean, how much longer could it last? We're gonna go to Black Truth. Hey, Black Truth, and then Path to Justice. What's going on, Black? Holla at me.
Salute Professor Allen. Salute Sister Nick. Sorry, Sister Nikki, Sister Wani. Yeah, this is some tethering on
Wait a minute. I didn't mean
steroids.
to put my thumb down at you. I was trying to press the heart. A whole
Oh,
lot of
no worries,
hearts.
no worries,
All right.
no worries. Yeah, this 23&Me thing is tethering on steroids. Remember, I just want to remind everyone that at first, when we first started really speaking on reparations, it was you niggas aren't going to get shit. Then later on, it became, why are you asking the white man? Go fix your problems, baby mamas and drug dealers. Then it
You need to
became,
work harder. You
yeah,
need to
work
work hard.
harder. Then it became, "Hmm, can I get some of that butter?" Then and now it's just, I mean, it's just on another level of tethering. It's very annoying. And I threw something in the
Hey,
jumbotron. I don't
now
know.
it's like, please don't leave, nigga. Where you going, nigga?
Yeah. Why do you niggas hate us?
You are
Yeah.
African.
Yeah, you're
Come back
African too.
home,
Yeah.
brother, and bring your reparations with you. Yeah, I did hear what Sister Stephanie was talking about. That's very real in the Gambia and all throughout the west coast of Africa. There are many stories, unfortunately, of mostly single sisters. Sisters, when you're traveling, make sure you have an FBA man with you. You know, when going to these other countries, because their cultures are not like ours. They they take advantage of women, and it's very, very hard to get justice overseas if something were to happen to you. Yeah, I heard, I think it was 5 sisters in the Gambia, and then there were a few other stories scattered about in West Africa. They just went there. They were trying to build something on some fake kumbaya nonsense, and they were unalived. They were never seen again. One of them, I know for a fact, had a business going. I think it was like a hair care business or something. And the Tethers were so jealous. Next thing you know, she ends up dead. And then her hair business is still in business. People are just there in her place. Same thing with her home. The female, she's gone. She's dead. But Africans are living in her home. So they got her to develop the land, they got her to develop the business, to build the connections, to bring the capital, and then they took everything that she had, they offed her, and then they're living in her place. I mean, it's literally the definition of uh, extreme hatred and tethering. But yeah, you got to be careful. And this Pan African nonsense is, I would say, 99% of the time fake, phony, and false. Very few instances. There are very few instances where you'll find true Pan Africanism, and normally it's on a very minute, very individual basis. Brother McCall, I'm sure if he's in here, yeah, I see him right there. Salute, Brother McCall. Yeah, I'm sure he can attest to this. It's got to be a case by case basis when you're in these different countries. But I did throw one thing in the jumbotron along with your cash apps, Professor Allen, Sister Nikki, and Sister Wani. I I don't know if you all saw this. It was a study. It was a story rather about the dog that whose DNA was submitted to one of these places, and it came back that he was 20% Native American.
No, I
So,
didn't see that. That's
I
A
funny.
mean,
dog?
yes, a dog. Uh-huh. Yeah, so the person was like testing the accuracy of the test, and they were trying to like qualify, see if they could qualify for some minority acceptance or this or that. So we have to take some of these DNA results with a grain of salt. DNA really works well if it's like one generation, or if you're matching a person who's living, with the DNA. But I've heard rumors, and maybe you all, I think you all may know more than me on that. But after a certain number of generations, it gets kind of hazy, and there's a whole lot of finessing that can go on. So just wanted to leave that receipt real quick. I'll go ahead and drop down. Thank you.
As usual, Black Truth. I love it, man. I'm gonna have to look at that article on the dog. Love it. We're gonna move right along to Path of Justice. Path of Justice, good to see you. What's on your mind?
Always love y'all's participations and contributions, especially Big Three. We got Wani, of course, Professor A, and Nikki. I'm listening to this, I'm thinking that Nikki got a whole lot more going on there. Y'all talking about a little bit, but man, I'm starting to see the pages unfold. I'm like, there's a lot of G's being written there, and it's probably ain't coincidence. And honestly, it's looking like it's Nikki from me just being an outside observer, never spoken to any of y'all on depth about how you practice, but it's looking excellent. I'm loving y'all's work. My preemptories, I guess you would say, aside, yeah, I really like this conversation, and I think I was really came to 3 points. Again, I should have written them down, so hopefully I developed them pretty well. But yeah, I think, and I know we have a lot of brothers like Brother Phil talking about how great Africa is seeming, but I mean, it just seems like post transatlantic slave, you do have a whole, I would say, whole different epoch. Like we try to tie, and I remember the conversation y'all had yesterday with brother. I think it's Malachi. I'm terrible with names and memory, but where y'all going down the history of Africa, but it feels like the uh, transatlantic slave era, and specifically the intentional participation of Africans in it. I think that needs to be just the normal dialogue because that's just what it was. I You have a whole lot of groups of African tribes who participated in it, and I think it's not been fleshed out how much of that was intentional ethnocide of other African groups. But that wholly changed the culture of Africa so much that I don't even know if you can honestly even say that the pre-transatlantic slave trade is even linked to is even in the same boat as the culture before and afterwards. And I think an honest academic discussion of that is actually needed because it could show hugely different values before then. And like you look at, let's go back to way back in Kemet and even more recent, the Mali Empire. Those are empires that were focused on knowledge, social order, building. But after the transatlantic slave trade, it seems to be more about treachery, selling off other Africans, and selling off whatever you can to participate in white or other ethnic groups' economic systems against the benefit of the Africans, but for them for your social ladder on their social platform. And I just say that is because I think that discussion really needs to be had. Is like we talk about the tribalism and how much they're undermining us, but if they've had a culture of treachery uh, distinct from them, because unlike us, when we're fighting white supremacy and we're building our culture and our civilization, if they're intentionally joining it and treacherous and being treacherous to each other, you're going to have vastly different cultures between us and them. So we talk about Pan Africanism, but do we even understand the African culture post transatlantic slavery to even understand that until they've gone through steps that we have, there's nothing for us to unite to because our cultures are just diametrically opposed. So I think we're getting to that instead of actually getting to that by looking at negatives, how they're undermining us and all this other stuff. But if we just get to the core and the meat of the matter is like, have you even had the cultural experiences that you need to unite with anybody on a real level? Like again, we're talking about stop undermining us, but really stop undermining yourself. Stop the tribalism. Build in your homeland. Build other opportunities. Until they've done those things, they may not even have the cultural history to And I know I've been kind of hinting at that, but the more I think about it, it seems to be exactly the problem is that they just don't have the cultural history post transatlantic slave to really unite with themselves or us. So if we were just go to that point, it's like not only should we not have you as a dialogue because there's no reason to. You're not in our business, and y'all don't have us in your business. But y'all don't have the history post
Right.
transatlantic slave to even have a conversation with us. So we're talking about values and all this other stuff, but we can't even get to that because you haven't even put in the work to have the values to have a link with us. So really, until you put in the work, there's nothing to talk about. So that should be the only conversation we have is, are you putting in the work right now? If you're not, then okay, then that's the end of the conversation. So I think we've been pushing them more out, but that I think that's the next part of the conversation. It's like if you want to talk to us, let's talk about what work you're putting in, and if it's nothing, then there's nothing to talk about. So I just want to put that out there. Another thought I had was a little bit more weird, but maybe more spiritual people are inclined to think of this. But metaphysics may be a lot more real than we think it is, i.e., all these collective actions we talk about generational curses, but there may be some real correlates in space time where those become energy or realities manifested that do determine like possibilities. Like we have a history of helping all these other groups, and a lot of other people through their metaphysic ties, they're self-destructive as we've seen in the Africans, unless they can tie to people and the white supremacists tie to people who are righteously inclined. I mean, if you look at both groups, Black Americans have bailed out these groups a lot, and that may not be what we would call coincidence. It may be tied into reality. I know this is a weird conversation, but tied into reality on a lot deeper levels than a lot of us perceive. We're thinking in terms of logic and values, but it may be really embedded in uh, space time on a deeper levels than we may even think. So I guess that's just what I was just thinking about. It's a little bit of a weird conversation, but I thought it may be worth bringing to the family just to inspire some thought.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I appreciate y'all's
Oh
contributions.
man, you too, brother. I appreciate your inspirational analysis and the picture of Dr. Amos Wilson, one of my heroes. You're really following in his legacy. But the gentleman said something really important. He said, "Why are you?" I'm paraphrasing you, brother. He said, Why are they in our business? We're not allowed anywhere near their business." When I was in Ghana, I noticed a whole unit. We were going over there to help some schools, to help a library in one neighborhood and right next to Togo, and then help a school in a whole other neighborhood, and 6 hours north. And on the way there, I passed by some gigantic, beautiful universities. I was like, wait a minute, they got their own schools here. I don't recall one exchange program with my students at the Historical Black College and University of Ghana that has a medical school and a law school, but they all over our shit. So he brought up a good point about that. It's time for gatekeeping, Black Americans. Miss Stacy, I don't know if you wanted to say something earlier. I thought I saw your hand. I could be
We
hallucinating.
have this person. New golden age. Can we see who it
Oh yeah, yeah.
is?
New people first. Go ahead, new golden age.
I just want to see who it is.
Peace and blessings. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh yeah.
Y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
just wanted to expound on just to go back what they was talking about when you was talking about this blood thing based off of genealogy. With the blood, the DNA. All this is a fraud. It's a fraud. I have a
Genealogy is not a fraud. No, you may have problems with DNA, but genealogy is not a fraud.
you have to let me speak, or either you either gonna let
You
me talk.
said you said genealogy was a fraud.
But let me speak. Hold on. What I'm talking
What
about.
what
Either you want to
Why
talk
is
or let me
everybody
speak. Or
screaming
what I'm
on this
talking about. You got
topic? What
well
is
we
with
got
the
bro, we got
screaming?
rules on the stage, and if you make a claim that's false, it has to be debunked. What I would ask you to do, although I agree with Wani, what I would ask you to do, if you're claiming it to be fraud, go ahead and post evidence in the jumbotron
hold
that
on.
support that claim.
Hold on. Let me speak and you'll understand. Oh, I see what he's talking about. All right. You gotta let me speak though. Okay?
Uh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, now what I'm talking about is I have a partner who works for the genealogy place that where you take blood to find out your ancestors from way back all the way to
It's
Africa.
not genealogy.
Um, you know how the genealogy where they take DNA, your blood DNA.
It's not.
Are you on? Hold on, let me speak. You either you gonna speak or you gonna let me speak. You
Okay, I'll
you
speak.
gotta let me.
Geneal- Genealogy is when you use paperwork to census records, birth certificates,
You gotta
and
hear me.
it's pronounced genealogy.
You have to hear
Um,
me out.
no, I don't, because you're dumb
I'm
and
talking.
you're screaming.
You have to
You're
hear
dumb
me
and you're
out first. I'm pretty sure.
okay. Now you're going into soprano to be dumb and loud. Thank you very much.
Let me speak so you can hear me out and you'll
Oh
agree with
my
me. What I'm.
God.
How is he talking through the mute?
I told you when they're possessed, it doesn't
I
work.
know, but you gotta hear me out though, so that you can understand.
You know, you gotta close
Yeah,
your mouth.
yeah,
Close
you
your mouth.
like
I've had enough of you.
yeah, you don't talk that way to a co-host, man. This is our show. Like we're running it. We're trying to vibe with you. But if you say something that's outright, that's obviously wrong, we have to correct it on a scholar. There are people watching this, and what you're saying now, you may not mean what you're saying. You may mean it another way, but you're responsible for the way you present information. And I will say, the way you're presenting this is just skewed. You don't just get to say genealogy is a fraud because it's not. It's a science. But go ahead,
Now, are
Wani.
you saying the collection of blood to do DNA testing is a fraud? Do you
That
want
would
to
be
start
different.
there?
Oh, it's somebody. It's muted. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna ask that you think about
Yes,
what
that's
you want to
exactly
say.
what I was trying to explain, but y'all don't want to
okay,
hear
go
me out
ahead.
so that I can.
No, because you don't know how to express it
Yeah,
properly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna ask you to take some responsibility for the way you're presenting information. If I said, I don't even have an analogy. If I said 1+1 is 7, somebody's gonna say, "Man, hold on, no, it's not." So, but if you got to really think about how you're gonna say it, because
I
the way
was
you were
trying to
presenting.
explain it, but y'all
Hold
don't want
on,
to.
stop. Hold on, stop talking over. That's disrespectful. Nobody's trying to disrespect you, but you need to learn how to control yourself, man.
Wow.
Get get control over yourself. Get control. We want to hear what you got to say, but my co-host knows a lot about this, and the way you said it, I think you didn't mean it that way.
I
But
didn't.
you okay. So I'm gonna allow you to say it the way you mean, and I'm gonna ask you to lower your voice and calm down. It's not personal. Go ahead.
I meant it in the way that she just now stated it, but I wanted her to hear me out. I'm talking about, you know how on the websites where you can pay for your, the genealogy section where you could pay for your blood to get sent out and get tested. Are you familiar with that? Because I don't want you to
Yes.
say it, because I
That's
don't want
not
y'all to say I'm saying
genealogy.
anything wrong.
It's It's not genealogy. It's a DNA blood test.
Yes, but I'm talking about that's what the website talks about. What I'm telling you is I got a partner who works for a company, and he has stated to me, this is the part I wanted you to listen. He has stated to me that he overheard the Europeans talking about that all these black people taking these tests. This is when we know that most of them it's a fraud. That they got us taking these tests, right, knowing that they don't even have no real concrete evidence that we actually from these diasporas and continents, is what I was trying to explain to you.
Okay.
But you didn't get.
Relax.
Are you
Just relax. Just relax. I heard what you said.
okay?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, brother, but I'm gonna really ask you, and I mean this in a very in the best possible way, to really think about how you frame information. I hear what you're saying. You're saying that there are fraudulent activities within the genealogy departments that black people participate in. I get it. But the way you framed the information was you made a declarative statement. You declared that genealogy is a fraud, and that's not true. That needs to be
No,
corrected, right?
but I was
No,
saying it
no,
in a,
brother. I'm telling you how you said it, and I'm not trying to attack you. I'm glad you're here. I'm just telling you to make you aware of how you said it, so moving forward, you don't do that to yourself. You made a declarative statement. Now there are people there. Some of my students watch, their kids watching it. They could say, "Oh, well, damn, people will listen to you. Oh, genealogy is a fraud." Where I'm not going to pay attention to that. Genealogy is not fraudulent, but you're saying fraudulent people have manipulated genealogy, which I believe. I
correct,
believe, yeah, I believe
correct,
that.
correct.
You mean DNA test.
Correct, the DNA test. Exactly. That's what I was merely saying. I'm not
Right.
saying genealogy itself is a fraud, but the Europeans who's
Wait a minute. You're still saying that genealogy is a DNA
no,
test.
if you go up on the websites, because I can send you a copy of the
Can you stop 1 second? Let's calm down. Genealogy is when you go on ancestry.com and you use their old records, census, birth certificates, death certificates to find your relatives. That's not your blood test.
correct.
It's two separate things. And you're saying genealogy.
I'm saying genealogy because that's what they have on
Can
their
you show us?
website.
Can you show us the website?
Yes, I have to pull the website up. I have to
Okay, so I'll
I have
see
to
what
pull
you're
the
talking about.
website up in order to be able to show you exactly what
Now,
website I'm talking
do
about.
you
Because
not believe in DNA?
absolutely I do. But what I'm just telling you is he was explaining
Okay,
to
you
me.
don't have to yell. I get
No, no,
it. You're
no. This
saying
is
that
just the
they're
way I speak.
manipulating
This is
the
just
text.
no,
Okay.
no, no. I'm not
What are
yelling
you
at
from New
you.
York? Are you from New York?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not from New York.
Where you from?
I'm from Jersey.
Okay, got it.
What's going
Yeah.
on in Jersey?
Huh?
What's going on over there?
Oh, nothing much. The same thing, usual. You know, the drones and things of that nature. Same stuff. You know. But yeah, I'm on your side. I understand exactly. You just was, miscomprehending, what I'm trying to, convey to you, you know?
Yeah, yes, sir. And I'm happy you're here, and I think you really got something to say. But we're accountable here. If I say something the wrong way, I demand that my host or my guest to correct me. That happens all the time.
Yes.
But the way you said it was incorrect. That's all. Just it's okay. It's okay. We're here
Are
to
you
help.
gonna, could you put the link to this website in there so I could see why they're talking about
Well,
genealogy?
to
Maybe
be
I'll
honest,
learn
I don't
something.
even know how to.
Do
Hold
you know
on.
the name of it?
I don't. Yeah, I gotta get the name. Hold on.
I'll
Let me
look it up
see.
myself.
Let me see. Let me see if I can
Where's Stacy?
pull that web. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay, while you look for that, when you get it, go ahead and send it to a DM me or a DM on the spot, Wani, and we'll put
And
it in
I'll
the
look it
jumper
up
phone.
and
Yeah,
I'll
we'll.
see what they're talking about. So the results are not as great as we would want.
Uh-huh.
But I guarantee you that if your cousin takes the test and you take the test, you're going to see your cousin on there. So it's not fake. It's just not we don't like some of the results because they do certain types of they get samples from certain groups, and
Mm-hmm.
some groups are overrepresented, and they just keep popping up as, oh, you're related to this person, you're related to this group, when you really may not be that related to the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, they don't have a lot of samples for indigenous people because they don't believe in that. And so they're underrepresented, even on their own DNA tests. I know people living on reservations and it says they have 2% indigenous or Native American DNA, and they're considered, at least 75% Native American, but it doesn't show up. So we know something is going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all I was really trying to, convey, to let to just explain that it's that part is, you got Europeans inside of this company that's lying to people, telling people, knowing that most of the tests that come back, they not even sure. They putting anything on the paperwork.
Now, is this AfricanAncestry.com?
Yeah,
That's where you're getting,
Is that not a reliable? So I don't know much about it. Is that not a reliable source?
that's
African,
exactly
well,
what I'm talking about. You're correct.
AfricanAncestry.com just tells you one African tribe that you're supposedly related to and doesn't tell you anything about the rest of your DNA profile. Like they'll just take one thing out. And I've already been suspicious of them. I don't like them. They're trying to um make you think you're one tribe. And I said, how could you do that when most Black Americans have far more than one country listed in their genetic profile? Why would you ignore the rest of the profile for one uh, narrow group? And they just said, oh, no, we do your maternal lineage and it goes back to this and that. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't believe their test at all. African ancestry, I do not believe their test. It doesn't make any sense, and nobody would want to, a Black American of all people would want to see all of the aspects of their test, not just one narrow aspect that I don't even believe is true.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to explain. You're correct. You're correct. He was sitting there saying that he overheard them talking, just laughing. And these are Europeans, and he's not. He's sitting there listening, and it's crazy how they got us believing that we're all African, that we're all African. And I've been doing my own, background studying with my mother, because my mom, I still have her. Bless her, I still have her. She's old, and on her birth certificate, my mom stated that it was changed, that her birth certificate was changed, and it used to state the Nazman tribe on her birth certificate. The Nazman tribe. Anyone can go look that up, and change to uh um African American Negro. That's what they had changed it to.
When did she last get her birth certificate?
My mom did her. I'm not sure when she last did it, but I know I have a copy of it.
So an earlier birth certificate listed a tribe, and a later birth certificate said Negro or African
Her
American.
latest one, her latest,
Said what?
her first one that she had earlier on received, that she stated had her Nansman tribe, because
Mm-hmm.
she was explaining to me and who her mother and father tribe came from, some tribe called the Nansman tribe, out of Virginia. Out of Virginia, anyone can go.
Can you spell it?
It's Nansemand, out of Virginia, because we all originally from Suffolk, Virginia. Suffolk,
I
SUFFLFFOLK,
know it.
Suffolk, Virginia. And we moved up to Jersey. We moved up to Jersey at a later date after she had all of me and my brother and my sisters. But again, my mom, she's older now. That's why I've been doing all of my checking, lineage on her side and everything, and on my
Everybody
father's
should
side.
Google this name and go to their website. It's interesting.
Cause my mother,
They
and
look
I'm
like
looking
they're
at,
tri they look like they're triracial.
and my mother said that the original Nas mons were black people. And as I keep checking back, going back and back, because my father's from migrated from North Carolina. You see what I'm saying? But my mother is from Virginia. So I've been following my mother line. I've been sticking on my mother line and going back. And I don't see any Africans. I've been asking my mom, are you have any Africans? She was like, where you get that from? I said, that's the word,
Well,
you know,
that's the conclusion we've drawn on this channel, and in this delineation is some of us don't have that lineage to Africa.
absolutely. That's what I've been trying to convince, trying to say. This is a fraud.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
appreciate. Go ahead.
this tribe's a member of the Powhatan Paramount Chiefdom.
Yep. That
Yeah.
Pahad. That's Pocahontas's dad
Well, um,
or her lineage,
we
Powhatan.
can take a look. We can take a look at this tribe. It's very interesting.
And if you see my mom's face, oh my God. If you see her face, it's so my mom's face is so like puffy, look just like this is some type of native Indian or something. Like you could see her like my mom's face. She looked just like these people. Like for real, for real. It says right here. I have a copy of
Well,
her.
that makes sense because the one of the reasons why America is a country, it was never intended to be a country. It was a colonial dynasty. It was 13 colonies. But the reason why this is a country is because when enslaved Africans were brought over to work on the plantations, they would often break loose from the plantations and run until they bumped into what Claude Anderson called native black plantations. And their cultures were so similar that the runaway Africans, formerly enslaved Africans, would amalgamate and marry into the tribes and have children, and they would stage counterattacks on the white ownership class of the 13 colonies. So it's not hard to believe, but it's kept away from you in academia. You watch, when you look through the books, you watch TV, you see an Indian or Native American, as it were, and they look like a Hispanic. They look a certain
Mm-hmm.
type of way, but that's not the truth. I did a training with the United States Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Marine, but I trained with them. And at their museum, they had a big, downstairs, a big old early photograph of the War of 1812, where they rounded up a bunch of air quote Indians and took them to jail. About 130 Indians, from mother, uh, children, husbands, whatnot, and they all look just like us. I mean, afros with feathers. So that's the whole point. That's one of the biggest points of this discovery, is that we've always been here, which is why I posit that's what this is all about. That's what all the immigrants, that's what all the attack on the foundational Black American is all about. They don't want us to know that this is our land-based identity, even more so than the Native American, the red native, because the red natives came from Asia. They're Siberian. They migrated here. Now they may have migrated here 10, 15,000 years ago, but 30,000 years ago, it was just us.
Mm-hmm.
This is our
Mm-hmm.
homeland.
Some of them immigrated here in the 1500s.
Wow.
Can you imagine Native Americans, Navajo, coming here in the 1500s after the Vikings and being called Native Americans?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How are they getting away with that? They're literal immigrants coming across the Bering Strait. I put the tribe in the Jumbotron. If you want to take a look at the way that the people look, this is a perfect example of triracial isolates. I come from similar lineage, but only in Delaware of that. I think it's like the Delaware River Indians, but they have some connection to this group.
Well, I wanted to talk about why is it important to call the Black American African American and associate us with Africa and associate us with all these places, Negro. Why it's no offense to my Negro brothers and sisters. I'm just telling you the game. It's psychological warfare. The last thing the elite ownership, I don't mean white, I mean elite, the Benjamin Franklin class of leadership in America want us to know is that this is our birthright. America belongs to us. Because if we were discover that we were here even before the red Native Americans, who by the way are receiving reparations on reservations and the like, if we were to know that we were here and to acknowledge that, it's a matter of time before we discover that everybody else other than us is an immigrant, i.e., everybody other than us is visiting on the United States of America. This is our land. And could that be a legal claim? I'm just asking. I'm not making a statement. Afro Puffs, what's on your mind?
Hold
Hi.
on, I might have been here before her, or was I not?
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I don't got my glasses on, Marat. Go ahead.
These buttons are out of
It's
control.
okay. What's going on, Professor A,
Hey.
Nikki, of course, and of course my Wani. Um, I just wanted to be real quick. I didn't want to be too long. I am going to talk about, um, our favorite subject, genealogy and DNA. I know I talk about that frequently, and it's not changing. But someone put out, a brother put out I'm gonna put it in the jumbotron. Um, about the morphological differences, even in the dental morphology of Black Americans versus other Africans, and how that dynamic is totally different in comparison to between the two. So that's going to be very important. One other thing I'm noticing a trend here. People, we have to understand that we do not need to have any type of phenotypical replication with red Native Americans to stake a claim to our indigenous claim. We can look just as we are today, as we might have looked even 1,000 years ago. Okay, we don't really need their morphology to make sense of our own existence. Um, and then one other thing I wanted to point out was Mongolian spots. I put Mongolian spots right in the jumbotron. I researched this back in March. Mongolian spots, they are the highest frequencies, most prevalent within Asians, Native Americans, and Black Americans, and it is largely non-prevalent in Africans. So that's going to be another big distinction that we have between the two. And the last point I wanted to point out here, I'm going to put in the jumbotron, um, is going back to our um, DNA and our genealogy. Genealogy is real because, like Wani said, it's just about a trace of our records, say census, and what have yous and things like that. Um, so as far as our records are concerned, NCBI did a study on Black Americans and some of the most oldest ethnic groups in America. Um, Unlike any other group that they did, we were the only ones that had an exception that was indigenous right here to America. In fact, these were their words. An exception is the Black American cluster, which is not associated with West African birth locations. This is unsurprising given the lack of genealogical records tracing back to Africa. The majority of these groups show evident geographic localization within the United States. Other conclusions are in the genetic sphere. Results are consistent with historic mating patterns among Black Americans that are large, uncorrelated to African ancestral origins, and they cast doubt on the general utility of the mtDNA or the Y chromosome markers alone to delineate the full African ancestry of Black Americans. Um, Also, they love to project about um, Africans in general, but especially Yoruba and Nigerians. Yoruba, they did a test between us, and I might have said this on the last piece before. When you look into detail about our genetics and in relation to our genetics as it's in comparison to the to America and our indigeneity here, they are never, almost never using Black Americans in our gene pool to verify our own existence. They're always using Africans. So you wonder why all the tests are coming back unmatched because they're using Africans. Yoruba, in fact, are found to have inadequate proxies of Black Americans, and they are absolutely inadequate um, for our gene pool registry. Um, and for my last point, Nigerians are, like Wani said before, they are overly represented in our gene pool. The recent reported overrepresentation of Nigerian lineages in Black Americans reflects pronounced limitations in the African gene database. The artificially colonial maps of Africa and the contributions of multiple African empires and kingdoms into the transatlantic slave trade gives overrepresentation of Yoruba people and existing limited representations of us in these data pool spheres that we have today. So we have to understand that when we're talking about genetics here, we have to look into the base point that Black Americans are our own morphologically and genetically. And even when you're looking at our genetics, you have to look very careful because largely they're using Africans. I land.
I love it. I love it. Wanda, you had something to follow up with before we go to Afro Puffs?
Uh, well, thanks, Marak. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Afro Puffs.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say something about AfricanAncestry.com. So I don't think the gentleman was correct in the name of the right the in the company that he named. So I live in Prince George's County, and AfricanAncestry.com is in the DMV area, and it's Black owned, and it's a small company. So, Woni, I agree with you that the downside of AfricanAncestry.com is that it doesn't give you um again, because it's a small company, they can't afford to give the client, I guess, for the lack of, or the person that pays to have their DNA traced. What Ancestry.com can do, for instance, or 23&Me. They only test on the mitochondrial. I'm not going to say this right, but the mitochondrial DNA, the X.
Mitochondrial.
Thank you. Okay, the
Mitochondrial.
mitochondrial. Thank you. The mitochondrial DNA, which is the X, and they test on the Professor, you can help me with the Y. They only test the Y. And it's just meant to give you a piece of of what you could possibly uh be tied to or be connected to. And that's why it's so limited. But it's a black owned small company. So I don't know if Won't, if he gave you the name, did he actually look up and send you the name?
No,
No.
he
Uh,
didn't give me the name, but
okay.
It sounded like he was speaking about that one.
Oh, they don't have they again. It's
Did you
small. It's
ever?
black owned. They
Did
hire black people. So when he kept saying the white people were laughing, that's not
that did sound
been.
different than I expected.
Yeah,
Did you get yours done with
I
them?
did. I did. Actually,
And they gave you one tribe?
they get well. So it's funny. So I did my, since we women only carry the XX, so they could only do the mitochondrial.
Mm-hmm.
um, and that did
We
come back
got ripped off,
around.
didn't we? I have to use my first cousin's.
Oh, for
It doesn't work, but
I did, but I did my father's, and I did it. I did his
yes.
mitochondrial, and I did his on his Y.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
Y came back as European, which I wasn't surprised. They don't have a big database, a collection to accurately trace the European since their focus is the African.
Okay.
But his African came back about six different West African tribes from the Sahel area of, I think I said that right, of Africa.
From the same area?
From well,
6 tribes from the same
from the
region
same
or
region
different
of
countries?
West Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
different countries now. Of course, from now there, but they no, they named the tribes. But that was his based on his X chromosome.
Why did he have so many tribes? Because everybody just says they get one tribe from them.
I got one tribe, but I she so the co-founder explained that of AfricanAncestry.com. Um, how did she explain it? That it wasn't was it that it was too far back? Um, oh, it was so long ago. This was still the late 2000s when I had it done. But I know for mine, it was the Akan. Um,
Uh-oh, we have that Akan guy, the good African. He's
on
a
the
Khan.
oh
He comes to visit us.
oh yeah. So mine's was the Akan, and for some reason, not for some reason, I wasn't surprised, mainly because I saw some resemblance with my maternal grandmother, with what I had seen on some TV show like back in the late 90s on PBS. I'm a PBS watcher. And I saw some resemblance. So when I took the test in '07 and it came back a con, I was like, oh wow, because my maternal grandmother, she kind of resembles those people. The Akan.
This is the reason that I took the test. I said, I want to see a reflection of somebody in my family in one of these tribes. But it
Mm-hmm.
just turned out to be too many tribes for me to
Oh.
pinpoint. Too many admixtures.
Uh-huh. So, but when I went to, and this is my mother's mother, me and my mother went to Ghana in '08, and we went to the Ashanti region, which is, heavily Akan, mostly Ashanti or Asante, however you want to pronounce it. And we were at a restaurant, and I asked the waiter first I asked two different waiters to look at me and my mother and what do you see us and the people here? And he looked real hard. Both of them did. And they said no. They both said no. I was like, wow. Um, so I don't know. I mean, again, my father has on my father's side, it's very mixed. Like his people were designated as mulatto on the census. So that could be why. And then on um, my mother's people, her mother's father's people have the native. I want to. I'm old. I'm 60, so I want to say Indian, but um, indigenous or whatever we want to call it. So I don't know if that just shown up that he could not place us with the
And
people
it
there in
doesn't,
that region.
their test doesn't show the whole picture at all, even if you say, I want to see the whole picture.
No, it's because again they're only testing on those 2 chromosomes. They did say, there's more of you, but that's essentially that's all they can afford to do. Plus they don't sell. They don't they do not
Don't
sell.
they
They
charge
destroy it.
$500?
Did it go up? I didn't pay that much.
No, I don't know. How much
Oh,
did it cost
it's
them to
it's
do
a-
it?
it's around 360.
Okay.
It's around 360, but it's that
That's
high.
enough money.
That's
If
a
they
lot.
can do it for $59 and tell you all of the stuff you've got, then they should be able to do it.
The co-founder Gina, she said they don't sell their what you send, they destroy them in 6 months. They don't sell it, and that's why the price is so high. That they could lower the price if they did what the others did, which is it's they can do you sign that contract basically saying they own it and they can do what they want to with it.
You don't have to attach your name to it.
Oh, really? See, I haven't done the others. I only did
No.
the AfricanAncestry.com.
I mean, when you take, if you are paranoid, which I am,
Mhm.
um, I just ordered a test with my business name. You can
Oh,
order 3 tests. They're not going to attach your name to the tests. There's a way to not attach your name to it.
oh, okay, okay. I'll keep that in mind. Um, I'll keep that in mind. But
It's just that the other ones are cheaper and they give
yeah.
you a better general idea, even though it's not as accurate as we'd like it to be.
Yeah. But that's all. I just wanted to. When I heard him say that, I said that's not doesn't sound right. A bunch of white men laughing at black people for African ancestry. That's a small black owned company, and they
Well, we
hire
don't
black
want to
people.
throw them under the bus, but we
I
don't.
mean, I didn't want for that part with him
I don't
saying
want to throw them under the
white
bus,
folks
but
laughing at black people. That's not AfricanAncestry.com. So,
it's just that I just don't like their product.
oh,
That's
sure,
just
sure.
all.
Hmm.
That's it. Thank you for your information.
Okay, thanks.
Nyla.
Hello, family. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me on the space. I just wanted to say real quick about the Nansman um, tribe that is also connected to the Powhatan tribe. I think you guys had mentioned some of that before. I'm from Yorktown, Virginia. My When he was talking about that, it's a lot of stuff that is really hidden in this area, obviously because of the rich history of Yorktown and all that stuff, and they don't want to give up Yorktown. Um, but there was another island called Mulberry Island. And that island is about maybe 25 minutes from Yorktown. And that one was totally run by natives. And excuse me, I'm a little nervous. At Hampton University, they have a diary from John Smith. And if you know anything about Hampton University, have a thing called Strawberry Banks. And basically, when they were on their way up from the Caribbean, in this diary that's at Hampton University, he says that they were on their last legs. They were about to die. And this was, in the 1600s. Um, they were on their last legs. They were about to die. And they looked over and they saw all this red. And it was Strawberry Banks. And the people that came to greet them looked like Africans. They didn't look like what they call the red Native Americans. And they had afros, they had all the things. He described them as, what he had seen when he was in Africa. And this is in Hampton, Virginia. Now that's right there at the Hampton University library, where that diary is right out there for everybody to see. And it was something similar that happened in Mulberry Island, which is where my family originates from. Um, um, a group called the Talifero Group. Um, and we, my grandmother, before she passed, since I was a little girl, she'd always tell me, "You are Native American. You are Native American." And I didn't understand what she meant at the time because I was going to the public school system. I'm like, we must have some red Native in us, like y'all were saying, looking for the um, looking for the phenotype of the red Native American in us. But my grandmother would always ask us questions like, well, the Native Americans, we were simple people. And we would name things very simply. What do you think Blackfoot meant? Do you think that it really, that it's really those people that they say are Native Americans now? And she would share the history of Mulberry Island with us when we were young. So the Powhatans, um, Nansmen, which is close to the Nansman River out here, like he said, in Chesapeake, Suffolk area. Um, those were all documented by John Smith as being like almost looking like the African phenotype. So I just wanted to share that. That is at the Hampton University Library. There is a diary out there, a copy of the diary out there that he describes who he ran into and who saved their lives with the strawberries and the mulberries, and how Mulberry Island, the Native Americans there were saved Jamestown when they went through their starvation period. And 16, I believe my grandmother said that they um, found them, and because there were so many mulberry trees on that island, they were able to get some sustenance from the natives there. And that's all I wanted to share. That's it. So
Could you direct me to where they were describing them? We like to collect up all the descriptions that we can for the Black Indians.
yeah, I can actually go over to Hampton University. I'm like 5 minutes down the road, and I can send you the actual diary information
Oh, wow.
because I'm only 5 minutes
That's
from there. So
nice.
I can go do that for you in the next week or so. Um,
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
send it to me as well.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can definitely send that to you. I homeschool my kids, so we do a lot of like exploring out here, and how even out here in Hampton, they had a whole community that is in the Hampton University, which I just learned about as I was homeschooling my kids, called the Aberdeen area, where they what's a lot of information. I'll send it to you guys. Send you where you can get the references and stuff like that, and I'm sure they have it somewhere online where you can reference it from their original documents they have over there at Hampton University. But thank you guys for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Well, I want to let you know, since you homeschool, I wrote a book on that issue you were talking about, for the African American family.
Uh-huh.
I'm a professor of education. Well, anyway, long story short, um, I talk extensively about Pocahontas and the Stockholm syndrome she got with the
Hmm.
Powhatan, excuse me, and her dad. My book, I got like about 140 uh, copies left. If you want a copy, I'll put $25 in my cash app,
Okay.
and make sure you put your address, your full mailing address, and I'll send it out to you. I put some really interesting stuff in there about John Smith, and how religion and culture was weaponized against her to. But long story short, they needed a princess to get a legal claim to the area of land you're in right now. The English wanted legal claim. The best way to get legal claim is to is with blood, have a baby. So they propagandized Pocahontas, who was a princess of Powhatan. Her name was Amanute. Pocahontas mean you bad little girl. It's a pejorative
Mhm.
because her dad said stop fucking with those white folk.
Right.
But anyway, long story. I put it all in my book. But yeah, if y'all are interested, I got a little over 100 copies left. So, you know, just put $25 in our store publications and put your full address, and I'll send it out. Now, some of you ordered it. Your books will be sent out Thursday.
What's the Cash
That's
App?
all.
I'm sorry.
Our story publications. If
R
you look through the
Story.
jumbotron, you'll see
Okay.
it. our our story. Look through the jumbotron.
Got you. All right. Thank you.
Wani, who was next?
I don't know. I don't even see any hands up.
I don't.
Can I
Yeah, I don't
speak?
see any hands up either. So just
Can I speak
let's
if don't
just.
nobody else want to say anything?
Can you hear me?
Oh, well, I wanted to go to Sotar. I don't think he had a chance to speak yet. Go ahead, Sotar. Uh-oh, hopefully my phone's not acting up. Can y'all hear me? Here we go. Jesus.
Yes.
I can hear you, but I think some of the people on stage can't hear certain people. So, Tara, are you there? You can come off your mute. Okay, we'll give Tara a chance. Did Nyla, New Golden, did the Black speak yet?
I don't think the black did.
No.
What's going
Okay,
on,
go ahead, the
everybody?
Black. Thank you.
I just want to start out by saying, Nikki, I love when you get a little mad, and cause you be going off like for real, but it be like cause you be so your voice so sweet, it sound harmless, but like you be going off, and it be so funny to me sometimes, cause it's like it's kind of like you coming out your character, and it's like you be trying so hard to not be mean to people, and it's just so adorable. But anyway, man, how is everybody doing? Uh,
He's
do Africans use 23&Me to cosplay as FBAs? Lord, uh, I really think they do, and that's somewhat kind of the reason why our small hat friends wanted to stop DNA period everywhere. Cause by them trying to finesse, it really started exposing, you know what I'm saying, what they was trying to hide. Even though they denied their Europeanness, most Jewish people are pure Europeans. Like they had the highest markers of, of being European. This would be so funny to me. But when it comes down to Africans, like they so confused, and they, it's crazy because we just I feel like the DNA was just first used to try to connect black people to Africa, to what Professor said, to displace us from the land and continue to push this Pan African ideology. But then it didn't work because more people didn't do the swab. They rather just do the work and actually the paperwork and find a family line, and that's what jumbled the lines because they don't have paperwork. Like they just started using paper just recently. and, and like see, we already see they got people that claim they 15 years old and they really 23 coming over here trying to play basketball with our young children, and it's so ashamed and hilarious at the same time. But it's no way they can actually uh unless they can make up some old paperwork and find a way to put it in some of these uh treasuries where they hide all the old files. There's no way they can actually prove that they're like us, part of us, or we are part of them. And I land there.
No cap. Appreciate your contribution. Sotar, you back? I see a new person while we wait on Sotar. Robin Warren. Robin Warren, what's on your mind? Robin Warren, can you hear us? Going once, going twice. New Golden, you had something that could contribute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, peace.
Oh, never mind. There she is. Robin Warren, what's on your mind?
Hey guys, Happy New Year. Uh,
Happy New Year.
I have a question that I have always been wanting to understand, and I hope I don't sound stupid, but this is something that's really been bothering me about DNA, and that is how is it possible when, for example, Germany is a place, Kenya is a place. Uh, Ireland is a place. How can someone take your DNA and tell you that you're part Irish, part German, part Kenyan, or whatever, when those are places, especially some of those places have been named in in the 1800s.
Yeah, it's based on what's going on now. That's why we're having issues.
So, okay, so if we are as human beings, uh, Caucasian, Asian, and Negroid,
We're not. That's messed up.
that's what?
That's not accurate anymore.
Yeah, this is
White
a Wani
people are not
question.
just. White people are not very smart, and they
Right?
have people categorized that way when they really shouldn't. So now they, like for instance, there's modern Egyptian DNA
Mm-hmm.
profiles, and there's ancient Egyptian DNA profiles, and they're different. So the modern ones reflect a lot of Arab admixture because Arabs invaded that area, where the ancient ones reflect a lot of different types of African people because that's what was going on at the time.
Right?
So when they say that we're Nigerian, which we're not, they're just going by what's happening now. That's one of the arguments that we have, that they're doing it that way. That's one
Mm.
of the arguments. They're saying your genetics come from this region, and right now that region is Nigeria or Ghana.
So it's because they say so. For example,
It's they
if you
just go by the region and then they list the name that the region is called now.
so is it possible to know what region of the world you're from? You
Yes,
how?
we just said by taking your DNA.
Okay.
I think I understand her question, Wani. I think what she's trying to ask is how do they know that a certain DNA is from a certain region? And I would guess it's done with statistics, right? The probability of some of a DNA being from a region. I don't know. That's not my area, but I think that's her question.
Meaning that if someone takes a DNA test and they're European, then other people take it, then it's possible that these two people are linked up from that area.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm speculating, which is a big no-no.
They they have like European people are different groups. Like Iberians are going to look a certain way. At this point, that area would be considered Spain. You know, Italians would look a certain way or would show up a certain way. Um, I mean, just I don't know why that's confusing.
Mm. I think the reason why I listened to this video one time, and this so-called Native American was trying to explain why Native America did not show up on his ancestry DNA. And to me, it would show up as black, black. And it showed up as European on him because he was European. That's what you are. You're a $5 Indian. And
Hmm.
so you can't, but my question was, how can Native American, when Native American, well, Native is, you're native to that
They're
land,
of Siberian descent, but they've been over here long enough to be considered Native Americans. But they're of Siberian descent.
Preach. And that right there is warfare. Because what Wani just said is their origins are from other, but the system has propagandized us into believing that they are the inhabitants of this land. They are from this land. They are not. They are from closer from Russia or from Asia than this land. We are from this land. So whereas this
right?
this group of people gets labeled or categorized as this is their home, they are native to America, and we get labeled as just African American.
African.
That separates our land-based identity from our homeland and puts us way across the pond to a place that doesn't give us goddamn citizenship. When was the last time Africa has given us dual citizenship? How the fuck am I African and I don't have dual citizenship in any country in Africa, including but not limited to Liberia, which was founded after African Americans? It's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's warfare. Deal with it.
It's true. It's true. I'm just trying to understand. That's all. I'm just trying to understand.
That's what we're here for, love. Um,
Thank you, guys.
you're welcome. All right. Anybody else want to come up and contribute? Sotar, you off the mic? You ready yet?
No, I'm still thinking.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, no, no rushes.
Hey, I do got a question. Why? How come you have all these men going crazy? They just crashed out. Like, why didn't she be damn crash out? She make all these guys
They
crash
came
out.
up here crashed out. They
No,
came
you
up
do
here
something. No, I don't
screaming.
believe it. You do something. They call you do something.
Well, Wani, and if y'all hear shooting behind me, I stepped out on the porch in Atlanta. They just lighting. It's New Year's Eve. They lighting the sky up. But anyway, what Wani's doing, she's a master class. She's a study for all of us. What Wani's doing, no one, she knows what the fuck she talking about. But here goes the key. She's calm. She doesn't get irate. She just
I
but
do.
but initially, yeah, you freak out. You do, but it's initially you're calm and control. You debunk information, and when you know what you're talking about and you're debunking information, people crash out. Like Tariq has talked about this. If you can't battle information, a way to tap out is to start trolling. So, and I've noticed that's why a lot of people from the diaspora kind of avoid her. They avoid me too, but when you know what you're talking about, the truth is strange. Forgive the cannons behind me. The truth is strange, ladies and gentlemen. The truth, you can't argue with it. Something rings true about it, and you can't argue around it. And liars are generally not that intelligent. So when you debunk them, they troll out. It happened to me the other day on Average's stage with a guy named JW. I calmly told the audience what he's doing, what his tactics are going to be, and I gave the audience it's called classical condition. I conditioned them to know, kind of like the beeper that goes off when you open the door, it goes dee 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 dee. It's saying door open. I told the audience he's gonna when he's lying, I said I'm gonna say fog, and I said fog, 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 fog every time he did it, and it drove him absolutely nuts because you can't argue with the truth. You either submit or tap out. You know, as in my opinion, from working with Wani, that's what she kind of does. She hits him with the truth. Every once in a while, somebody frustrates Wani. She goes off the deep end, but it's everywhere once in a while.
That was yesterday
Exactly.
with the bad African. The good African came in to balance it out and just needled us slowly, um, being bad in a slow manner, which is more tolerable.
Yeah, he frustrated me today with claiming that he's European. I was like, "Do you not
uh,
comprehend? Are you not Like, I don't want to. Well, the one thing I don't want to do is be aggressive or attack anybody that doesn't comprehend, because that's just cruelty. If you don't understand, it's one thing. In law school they call it intent. In crim law they say criminality is all about intent. If I bump into Wani and push her down the steps, does that mean I committed a crime? Well, maybe not. Maybe I didn't have my glasses on and I didn't see her. But if I told somebody, man, I'm gonna push Wani down these steps, I hope she dies. That's intent. That's criminal intent. So I keep that attitude when I'm dealing with people. And I kind of got that his intent today. He didn't understand that he's not European. I'm like, how do you not get that? You're African. Anyway, what do I know? Juicy.
because
Oh,
they keep relating everything to us. They think they're us.
they're in competition with us, which is what one of my professor friends, a very young Nigerian, that's what that's what he said. He said, yo, we in slick competition with Americans. I believe him. I took him at his word. Juicy, what's on your mind?
I think somebody else had their name up. I mean, their hand up. Sorry. I don't know.
Oh, Mr. X.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. X.
Peace, peace. Wishing everybody, much prosperity on the new year. To address the title or the topic of the space, do Africans use 23&Me to cosplay FBA? I feel like they try to, since if you take a DNA test, it shows a lot of different um, African, a lot of areas in Africa. But I also think that that's one of the things that makes it to where they can't really copy us. Because, like, for one, we have like a quarter European DNA. So, like, the structure of our DNA is like totally different from them. Um, and then on top of that, the African DNA that we do have goes all over Africa. It doesn't just go to West Africa. So, and if you look at if a West African usually does a DNA test, it's gonna come back like 99% Igbo or whatever, and then they try to claim since somebody has like 40-50% Igbo over here, and they try to put these far fetched links to say, oh, I have ancestry in African American ancestry that I never even knew, and it's like, bro, no, you don't. Um, so yeah, we just have so many unique things that make us completely distinct from Africans. Um, yeah, and I'm kind of looking up now, and I'm seeing the link from like the Austronesian population in like Madagascar, and that like shows up as South Asian DNA. So yeah, I'm kind of starting to like try to put things together now. Um, I would the question I would ask is, are you saying that the tribes over here also had mostly African DNA with a little bit of South Asian or something of that sort? Because I feel like if we all mix with these black tribes, we should have um a level similar to what we have in common with the red Native Americans, right? Am I tripping on that?
Oh, I think you're overthinking it. To my understanding, I didn't see the article, but to my understanding of my colleagues who told me about it, it was saying that Africans are trying to use 23andMe DNA results to link a relationship, so distant as it may be, between a foundational Black American family who may have been taken from the diaspora 400 years ago or whatnot, in hope of saying when reparations get ratified, hey, government, check this out. I'm getting my reparations claim because I'm related to this family. When they didn't experience the duty, breach, causation, and harm that came to the foundational Black American family, which is our outrage. Like it would be like it would be no different than me driving to work and a tractor trailer hitting me and killing me dead, and one of y'all getting a DNA test and say, "Oh shit, I'm related to Professor," to try to stand in line to be the heir of that settlement claim. It's ridiculous. It's asinine. It's grifting. Well, I'm gonna say this right now. We are sick and fucking tired. It's about to be 2025. That's a nine. Nine is the number of completion. Completion means an end. Let's let this be the end of fucking scamming. I'm so sick of scamming. I live in Atlanta. So much scamming go on here, man. Shit. We moved to a new neighborhood full of $1 million homes, folks at home all the time scamming. They're from other countries with businesses. That drives me nuts. I busted my ass through law school and grad school. My wife got through medical school, and we in a neighborhood where people came over here from the diaspora with a clean social security number and got $1 million loan on a janitorial business. I'm not looking down at janitors. I'm just saying. I'm talking about that clean bill of credit. When my credit got student loans on it, I don't even want to talk about it. Juicy.
Oh wow, that really sucks when you broke it down like that. Um, yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
get foundational Black
crazy.
Americans get punished for going to school. Like, let's deal with it. But I'm go ahead, baby. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, seriously, that needs to be a whole nother space. Like the looking back over the last 50 years of higher education, how has that economically empowered Black America as a community? I think there needs to be a deep dive on that. Um, but anyways, shout out to you, Professor Nikita God, Wani, peace and power to descendants in the space. Um, happy New Year, happy transitional year. Um, the first 7 days of each year, I go on a manifestation fast, and every day there's something that I focus on manifesting for 7 days. So if you would like to join me on this journey, I would I would invite you all to take this time to realign and purify. So that's kind of, my what I do when I bring in a new year. Anyways, in regards to the topic of space, do Africans use 23&Me to cosplay FBA? Um, yep, you're probably not gonna like what I say, what I'm gonna say, but I'm just here to make my submission based off of the DNA testing and my perspective. I advise foundational Black Americans and descendants not to send their bodily fluid to any organization or company um, for research. Your no bodily fluid, your sperm, your blood, your plasma, your saliva. I don't recommend that we send any of our bodily fluids to any of these companies. And this is way before the whole DNA testing. Um, Another thing, I believe that this is a part of a longer term strategy, uh, a longer term Pan African strategy in regards to African Americans. That term African Americans, like, how can we tie you to a body of land that you're not attached to? Oh, DNA testing doesn't lie, so they say. Um, as it pertains to paternity, we know that when a DNA test is, you know, conducted, it's factual, or it's not. Either the DNA says that you are the father or it says that you're not. So we can definitely um, use DNA for genealogical attachments, right, or verification or validation. But ethnicity, I don't know. The young gentleman that went over to he what's his name? I don't know. He does these he travels to Europe or the UK and he asks a bunch of, UK blacks, and European blacks, about Black America. And I don't know the guy. He's a young guy, but I just see him, sometimes on this app. And
Adonis.
yes, that guy. Oh, I think it's another. What is it, like three Adonises on here now? Um,
Adonis. Boom. Boom.
Okay, so thank you, Wani. That's the he's made a content creation person out of lineage and ethnicity and Black American stuff and whatnot. But he made a comment that made me actually really think about it. He's like, DNA doesn't determine ethnicity, it determines genetics, and I was like, how do we confirm or deny that? I know that if I share the DNA with my family members, we look at my dad's DNA and, my grandfather's, I'm expecting us all to align, correct? But to say that my dad's bloodline was somehow in this area when we've never been in this area, or if you're going to go three, four, I would say 300 years. I would say 5, 6, 7, 800 years back. That's kind of irrelevant because we migrate as a people, we move around. So at some point in time, that group of people that's in West Africa in the 1600s may not be the same that was there in the 1100s. So if people migrate and move around, how can you say that based off of some factors in my blood, that's where I come from as far as tribalism is concerned, or a tribe or group of
Let me
people?
ask you a question. Did he say your haplogroup can't determine your ethnicity?
I think so. I don't want to misquote
Because
him
that
or quote
doesn't,
him.
yeah, that doesn't, because 40% of Black American men have a European haplotype or haplogroup. So it doesn't. It that doesn't. This is
So it's partially, so is he partially right or partially wrong? That's what I'm saying.
if he says haplogroup, then he's correct because these haplogroups do not determine
Hey, quickly, family, Happy New Year, 2025. We're in our nine.
Happy New Year for you.
Is it 12
I'm
o'clock? It
still
is.
three.
Happy New Year's. Hey, I'm with my family on here. That's what's up. Happy New Year's, everybody. But listen, so
Let me
my
try
last
to.
question. I have a question. Why is it that
Okay.
the Native American tribes ethnicity, like when we do the 23 and we send the DNA, nobody's DNA comes back to America. Like everyone DNA is on another continent, another, you know what I mean? So you mean to tell me nobody's blood traces them to this land? So that's why I feel like it's a Pan-African thing.
These are political types of, we've been going through this a long time. So Native Americans, when they do their genetics, it'll say Native American, but they're from Siberia. They're getting this classification based on politics. We're getting called these other things based on, yeah, in some ways, politics. And it's really just used generally. It's not used as as a strong indicator, because if you take a whole genome DNA test, it's even more sensitive and you bring up more places. And then if you do the ancient DNA test, then it brings up other stuff. So um, it's just not 100%. It's good for catching criminals, it's good for freeing people from jail, and it's good for determining paternity, but for what we're doing, it's just one of the tools. It's
Just
not
one
an
of the
end
tools.
all.
It's not
Yes,
the deciding factor. So that's what I feel
you're
like.
not gonna use it. You're not gonna use it in, like
No,
with reparations. They don't use DNA at all. They use genealogy for all these Native American tribes. They use genealogy.
right.
They're against DNA, and there's a reason, because it doesn't give a reflection of what's happening.
So we shouldn't, I mean, because of that statement alone, Lonnie, I feel like we just should stay away from that. I don't, because I feel like it's a way to lure, Black Americans into the belief that they have ties to this land when they actually don't. I really feel like some of the results that people have literally causes them to deny their American heritage and identity, a form of ethnocide in a sense. If I take it that deep with it, because if it's saying that everything about you is African and you've literally traced your lineage back 300 years and you found not one African, then why are you erasing or eliminating or influencing this person to believe that who they are is actually on a whole nother continent that's not connected to them in any way?
I'm listening to you, and you make a really compelling argument.
I'm
When
sorry.
you
I
look
don't
at,
want y'all not to like me because of my
no,
views.
no, I do
I,
like
I
you.
mean, like, I know
Listen,
it's
the
contrarian.
Native
I don't
American,
know.
no, relax. The Native Americans, when they do their genealogy, it doesn't say anything about Siberia. It just says that, whatever they were doing here. And that's what ours says. It really says what we're doing here. It doesn't say anything about this person came from Africa. In fact, it says native born. a lot on our draft cards. It has some reference to Native and not referring to Native American, but just this person is native here, which we are. We were created here. So you're right. You're making a compelling argument to not use DNA, even though I've used it. I did various companies. I started off with what was it called? Uh, National Geographic Genome Project. Then I did a local one for the my last name. That was like a research thing. Um, and then I did the 23&Me and Ancestry. And then I did a whole genome one. So I've been into it and I don't use my name, but I agree with you. It does link you back and it does overrepresent African countries and it underrepresents Native American. And I guess I felt like I'm sophisticated enough to understand it's just a tool, but we should stick to the genealogy because that's what we need to do. That's what we'll need to do with any kind of claims here. The claims won't be based on DNA because they haven't been historically based on DNA.
So I'm so glad you said that because I do feel like it's a tool that we can do things, as far as genealogical research is concerned, because sometimes when people are doing their genealogical research, who they were raised by is not who their biological you know, parent is, right? So I'm looking at it from that angle as well, and how DNA will be DNA research will actually help, and for certain people as it pertains to their bloodline, and not so much the area or region of the world where the majority of their so-called people came from. And it just I didn't question it at first because I was like when I went on my when I first started my journey into the discovery of who I am, who do I descend from, where is my people, I was hyper like excited about technology and DNA and everything. But then when I read that someone sent a sample of their pet or lizard or dog or whatever, and that even said Africa, I said, something's going on here. Now I started to question
Now,
all
this
of it.
wasn't an African lizard, was it?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question, Wani, because I
I'm
don't
joking.
know. Where do lizards come from? They're like little small alligators, I guess, like you can put in your house. Iguana things. They're very ugly. They're reptiles, reptilian type. But I know there's people who shapeshift and okay, I'm not even about to go deep into that because now, I'm gonna sound like a conspiracy person, which I believe a lot of things because, you know, our, you know, this physical realm is just this physical realm. I was in a space last night. Y'all had one of the most profound spaces last night. I was like, damn, y'all in outer space. And Nikki to God, I want you to watch Interstellar. It's going to be on Netflix this month. Since you like, galactic travel and all that, I would recommend you watch Interstellar because it is a masterpiece of a film in regards to um, I guess, exploring the galaxy to find another habitable planet for human beings. You should watch that. It was really good. And then it also talks about love being a quantum physic that transcends time and space. So you should definitely watch that. Um, but yeah, I did that. That was my submission. I just wanted to say, if you've already done, it's already been done. But me personally, especially Black men, I'm like, they study us so much. The lady that they took her cells and stuff, and they did all
Henrietta
this stuff with
Lacks.
herself. When I think about Henrietta Lacks, just that situation alone is just so inhumane to me. And I was like, what else are they doing with our godly, righteous DNA and blood and semen and eggs and like the things that come from the inside of our body? Were very profound and very godly people who are in alignment with the soil, with the land and the sun. We are really God's people. And I just feel like we are highly sought after. We're highly researched. I really feel like Africans, they need to be removed from our social media apps because they study and steal so much. I'm literally watching them. No, no, no. I know it sounds ridiculous, but down TikTok, we need to go ahead and remove all the Africans from our American apps because all they do is study and steal. They go in, they study you, every single thing about you, where you're from, your every post that you make, and they go and make replica pages and they scheme and scam your supporters. It really takes a psychotic, obsessed person to find a way to cosplay as you to manipulate and lie and mistreat and financially abuse your fan base or your supporters. So um, that's just something that I've noticed with Africans that are on our apps. They're not here to interact with us. They're not here to learn from us on how we can build together. They're here to learn what we're doing and then replicate it to capitalize off of it. So, in that case, if Africans are using 23andMe, they're using everything to cosplay as FBA. I yield my mic. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak in your space.
Outstanding. I love your submission, Juicy. As usual, it's a pleasure. I think it's original bio, but Wani, I'm not sure if that's correct.
I
Miss-
thought I thought it was Mr. X.
Oh, I thought Mr. X talked. I was gonna get new people.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Original
Uh,
bio. I
sorry.
know. Go ahead.
It's original blood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bio.
Hold on. I'm gonna stop fighting and I'm putting on my glasses.
I'm about to say
Yeah.
because I'm looking at original, but I ain't see bio. I was like, maybe he just see the I. That's actually an L.
I find this topic interesting, and the reason why is, see, in the '90s, these degenerate Pan Africans, they were telling us that out of all the people with black skin over the planet, they said that Africans retained their culture more than any other black group. Then they said it was a Jamaican and somebody else and whatever, whatever. But they always put us last.
Okay.
And now I'm looking at this. It's like, and they also told us that when you go to Africa, that we must humble ourselves to these Africans as if they're some type of deity or something, that that we can't go over there just being ourselves. And now I'm finding out that how they want to cosplay us. They want to steal us from us, and they want to put themselves in our position. And I find it ironic because, Professor, I didn't know you was here in Atlanta. Somebody told me that you was here in Atlanta, and they said you didn't like it. I know you don't like it because these black folks, these are some of the most educated, below stupid black people I've ever been around. The majority of them, they're Pan Africans. They can't. They got this idea that we have to unite with Africans who do not want to unite with us. That's first and foremost. And then they want us to put the African first. See, I'm with Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson said, "Do not call me an African American." He said that takes away from all the creative genius that we created here. And they want us to just hand it over to Africans. No, they are not us and we are not them. And nobody seems to want to understand that. And I'm doing some genealogy research. I'm waiting to get some information from one of my relatives so I can. Uh, they've already done a great deal of it, but the person that was over it, they made their transition, and the crazy wife they was married to, she threw a lot of the stuff out. So one person has a great deal of it, and I'm supposed to get it from her. But I just want people to know that one of the things that we must do is that we are going to have to begin to go after these Pan Africans that want us to identify as just one group of flat, flat black people, which doesn't exist. And I just want people to be aware. Do not believe when people tell you
that Atlanta is the black Mecca, because it is not. Like I said, you got a lot of educated below stupid people in this city, and if you don't know any better, you would allow them to lead you down the wrong path, and they will do that too, because they're going to tell you they're all in this city here is it's like Pan African Central. I think it might be number two after New York or whatever, but they are sick with that garbage here. And I know, Professor, that you you are not lying, because these people, when I came back here, it's like I didn't really fit in with these people, because a lot of them, they just stuck on that Pan African garbage. And when I started to see, I said, well, okay, that's all fine and well, but but we just can't sit up here. And they would like let an African come into a meeting and let him or her start talking, and they would go along with them. And if you say, well, wait a minute, what about this? Oh no. Well, see, they're African, and so no, they don't know. If they knew, their country of origin would not be in the shambles that it is. And that's what gets me. So I just want y'all to know that Atlanta is not this. I'm born and raised in Carrollton, Georgia, which is west of Atlanta. It's about 50 miles west of Atlanta. So I'm born and raised there. And we would come to Atlanta to shop. But it's interesting how you saw things as a child, but as an adult, you see it completely differently, because the majority of the like I say, talk show hosts and things here, they're Democratic shields. They have no way of identifying anything without connecting to the Democrats or the Republicans. And the black Republicans are not any better. Let me just say that, because I'm just not going to crap on the Democrats. The black Republicans are not any better. But I just want to share that, Professor, because this city here, trust me. You had a lady, Keisha Bottom. She was the former mayor. I want y'all to peep this for a minute. I'm gonna see if I can't find it and put it in your purple chat. But Keisha Bottoms, what she did was she decided that she was going to do this 10,000 lights, to put lights in the community. And so what happened is, I pulled the press release. Oh man, my phone acting up. I pulled the press release, and what happened is I read the press release, and it said, especially in Southwest Atlanta, where there has been a historic underinvestment of lighting. And that kind of, I scratched my head. I said, wait a minute now. Atlanta has had a black mayor with black people on the city council since 1974. And for there to be an underinvestment of anything in this city, that tells me that these people, these black folks who have been in in alleged political power, they either hate us or they're taking their directive from someone else. I
They're taking their directive from somewhere else.
yeah yes
We'll talk in person. I don't want to. You
yeah
never know who's listening,
yeah
but I
yeah.
know I
Yeah,
know
I'm
exactly
in
what's
Atlanta
going on.
Metro too. Like I've been in Atlanta for 10 years. I'm not born and raised here, but what, you know, we have to be cautious about Atlanta because there's still the black management. So as you have Atlanta is what they say
Wait a minute, no,
white
no, no.
owned and black managed. Hold on, let me finish.
They're not.
Atlanta is
They're not
hold on,
black
let me finish.
management.
It is black managed because you see more black people, black faces that are being propped up in front of everyone else. Um, Atlanta is not Georgia. Georgia is a red state, right? And I'm familiar with a lot of the other cities, like in the outskirts of Atlanta, right? Not just the Atlanta metro. I was just in Sparta, Georgia this past weekend, which is deep South Georgia, and speaking to descendants who have been there for three, four generations. So you already know what time it is. So Atlanta is liberalized because of this whole whitewashing of the city to kind of destabilize that black economic empowerment and black um, I guess, thrive. Black people thriving in Atlanta. The 2020 people that moved there, like all the pandemic people, that scams. That was the scam nation. That's when all the scammers moved there. Atlanta used to be a place that you share resources and we all eat. It was a everybody eat philosophy. Everybody plugged and played, and they did good business. They were ethical. They had integrity, and you worked hard and you leveled up. Here, no, it's a lot of cosplaying, a lot of, I won't even just say Pan Africans, just a lot of immigrants, black looking immigrants who flood the inner city, who take classes to learn how to sound like a nigga from Zone 6, and they're going through the city wreaking havoc. Even the people who host those underground orgy parties, it's like they have like massive rave orgy parties. Those are not Black Americans doing that. That's people from other places coming in, bringing this degenerate hypersexual behavior into our city and and culture, eh, over intensifying what it is. When gay people start moving out of Atlanta because it's too much, we've got a serious problem. Like we've got a really serious problem. But I don't live in Fulton County, which is Atlanta, and some of the other areas that they just have Fulton County. Um, I live in Cobb County and I've been here for 10 years. And I don't, no shade, but I don't really see LGBT flagadocious type shit where I'm at. It's not fagified out here, like the innermost parts of the city. And there are a few Black natives. I like to keep Atlanta natives, Grady babies around me. I like to keep people who are born and raised, who still, want to protect the interests of their city, because a lot of people from LA, all the people out from on the West Coast, unfortunately, they have a very hyper liberal ideologies, and they bring that stuff into the city, and it changes the culture of what Atlanta is. It's just not the same. And I'm ready to roll. No shade, sweetie. Original Black professor. Y'all just get. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm really winding down my time here. Something in my spirit is telling me to move, and so I have to adhere to that.
Yeah, it's totally wannabe, totally. Um, you know, real pretentious, um, that type of thing. Uh, Black Truth, what's on your mind?
Salute family. Just wanted to pop in one more time. I heard something that Sister Juicy Genius said, and I wanted to
Is
drop
he
a receipt in
speaking?
the
Cause I can't hear.
Jumbotron. Hello?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, I'm gonna drop
Okay,
down.
You all can hear me, right?
I hear you just fine.
Okay, got it. Yeah, just wanted to drop a receipt. The police have been, and many federal agencies in general, have been using our DNA data for the longest, whether that's through a swab, through a blood sample, through a sperm sample. So just be careful when you're giving this information out. Now, the article that's posted there, that was a story of a white man who was caught, but again, since they have resources, they were able to mount a defense against the police, and they were able to prove that the blood was obtained unconstitutionally. But a lot of our brothers don't have that money for, and sisters don't have that money for a defense team. So a lot of times you're wondering, how did my blood get on the crime scene? I've heard a couple of personal accounts of people telling me, I didn't commit this crime. My blood was found there, and the week before I was doing I was there was a blood drive in the neighborhood, or this was happening or that was happening, and I gave blood. Or in some cases they actually take your DNA from when you donate an organ. So it's just real sick stuff, and it's always targeted at us, the people who are the most deprived and the most watched and microscopically examined. So I just wanted to add that receipt there, because they have been caught using DNA and other things from our bodily substances. And I'll just land there.
Yeah, and those of you who want to know the cost of a good defense attorney, just know that most defense attorneys in the Birmingham, Atlanta area are charging $10,000 retainer, which means you need a check for $10,000 just for them to talk to you. Yep, that's why a lot of our young men plea out. Can't nobody afford, you know, adequate defense counsel, and they tell the DAs tell you all kind of lies. Well, when I was in law school, I interned with a DA and saw right away I wanted nothing to do with criminal work. It's a shame the type of things they're allowed to lie to you. It'll be all right. All you gotta do is sign on the dotted line and say you did it, and we'll make everything okay. Just all that type of shit. Um, let's see who was next. Oh, Stephen C. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? Can you
What's
guys
up,
hear
brother?
me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, all right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, man. Yo, I've been seeing a lot of these like different YouTube channels and stuff sitting up here talking about this whole FBA being a hate group and all this shit. Like, I don't understand how these guys don't understand what it is. Like they got that rapper Talib Kweli, man. He up here talking about it's a hate group, it's a minority hate group, and talking about a tether is a anchor baby, and nobody knows more about FBA and ADOS than him and shit. And I'm like, well, he got that wrong. And I don't think like the guy that I was watching that I don't think he was supposed to read that text on on his video like that. I think he was supposed to keep that private, but he read it, and I'm just like, man, and all of them are thinking like this since this Fat Joe thing has happened. All these guys are thinking like this. Like, I don't understand it. And these guys claim to be intelligent and smart. And I actually think he's educated, because I actually think Talib Kweli is educated. I just think that it's either purposely done, or they just don't know how to comprehend or something. I don't know what's going on. And they're all talking about Tariq Nasheed being the fucking leader and all that shit. And I'm just like, yo, these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't get it. I think they really are trying to I think they are really trying to make this like this the FBA they're trying to label that as a hate group to try to banish it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you circle it, and that's a tactic to try to claim it. Some is not to you spread a narrative, and then once you gain public opinion, you take legal action. It's political science 101, but it's not. It's a lineage. But the interesting thing, brother, is if you look back at history, foundational Black Americans have been, to quote my brother Robbie Blue, I wish he was still here, the wealth engine of America. And we were propagandized into thinking in terms of a slave. What I mean by that is we were never allowed to benefit off of our own work. We were taught first through the chattel slave system, then through media, that our fruits and labor belong to other people. In my I found when I was writing my book, I found that even the state of Maryland passed a law that is an edict. Let me see if I can find it. In 16, one second, let's see. Uh, there it is. Okay. According to me, on page 7 of my book, in 1638, actually, this is a quote. This is in my book, but it's a quote from Claude Anderson. So, according to Claude Anderson, in 1638, the first public edict or policy against blacks was issued by the Maryland Colonial Assembly. That edict declared that neither the 20 free blacks nor their offspring shall be permitted to enjoy the fruits of white society. We were not. We were before this was a country. There was a law, an edict passed that said black people can't enjoy the fruits of their labor. So the fruits of our labor were expected to go to other people. So how this ties into what you're asking, brother, is what we're doing by naming ourselves and delineating is we're saying we are taking ownership of us, right? And the country is freaking out because they're used to having ownership over our labor. Think of all the and ownership of our of anything that has worth within surrounding us. Think about the neighborhood, the gas stations. So much money is made off of us. We're taking the first step of naming. Antonio Gramsci identified that the warfare begins with naming. Antonio Gramsci was an Italian who went to prison during World War II. Mussolini put him in prison, and he was a very political, astute person. He's like, "Why the fuck am I in prison?" And he figured out he's gonna die in prison, so he wrote a book describing what happened to him. And what happened to him is somebody spread a narrative first, words, narrative, labeling you. And once public opinion gets to a certain threshold, action can be taken. Think about warfare. If I call you a friend or a brother, that's a relationship. Those are just words, right? Words don't hurt. That's bullshit. They do hurt. If I call you an enemy, I can fucking kill you, right? That's what's starting to happen. Is they're trying to say that the FBA movement is something it's not. All it is a lineage. All it is we've said that we are a distinct lineage. We're naming
Well,
ourselves.
well, what I noticed was, because he also said something about when he read the text, he was like, well, it's nothing organic. The FBA movement thing is nothing organic. It's I forget how he worded that, but my thing is this: if it wasn't organic, there wouldn't be such a disruptance. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a real disruptance with this FBA movement thing. That's why people are talking. People in the mainstream are talking about it, and they're doing it with such disdain. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, anytime it's something like that, there's a reason why. There's a reason why Dr. Umar Johnson can still go on the Breakfast Club, and Tariq Nasheed can make microphone check, but not even get an interview in a space like that, and that's considered to be like a black, a quote unquote black friendly, uh you know a black friendly media outlet to be able to do that. There's a reason why, he's not, because that microphone check, a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like the fact that he was able to debunk all that shit that they was talking about with the whole, the Latino and black 50-50 thing. And it was never something that was out there in the 90s. Like Fat Joe could never say that in the 90s. He would have been canceled. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody was looking like, and I grew up in the 80s and 90s and shit, right? So it's like I know that for a fact, like nobody was looking for Fat Joe, and he wasn't like, no, like nobody was looking, like, man, nobody was looking for that dude. Like nobody ever liked him like that. And I don't know how he's got a big voice now, but he's definitely being propped up. And a lot of people with these mouthpieces right now, when they were in the 90s, they would have never fixed their mouth to say none of the shit that they're saying right now. It's unreal.
Yeah, yeah, and Talib Kweli, I'd never really cared about him because his music didn't appeal to me. I mean, sound like
Well,
the
well,
shit sound like a bunch
well,
of noise actually. But
like for me, I actually did like Talib Kweli. I used to like him and Most Def. I used to like Most Def, like when they were Black Star. Like I like Most Def more. I
I
did
like
like
Most
Most
Def.
Def
I
more.
do like Most
Yeah,
Def.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
gone to see Most Def in person, but the thing I was gonna say
yeah.
about Talib is Talib has been associated with liberal politics. There's some speculation that he is kind of allegedly bought and paid for. Because why does he give a fuck? You know what I'm saying? A lot-
Yeah. I
But
actually
he's
think
been
he's.
doing this. Can I say
Go
something real
ahead,
quick?
go ahead,
He's
Wani.
been
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this since 2018. So this isn't new.
Facts.
He had an article called "Why ADOS is Trash," receipts attached. So he has a stick up his butt. He actually had a lot of he lost a lot of stuff after playing around with ADOS.
Yeah, I think he lost a lot of stuff when he tried to go against the whole, Eminem isn't
isn't a guest in hip hop as well. He there's a lot of backlash for him
Oh
saying
man.
that as well too. And I actually think he's Trini. I think he's a Trini. If I'm not mistaken, I think he is, but I might be mistaken. But I do think he's Trini. But I'm not sure. I know that he's well educated though, because him and his family are like well educated. But there was like I used to listen to his music because there was things that I resonated with. Like, he talked about there's a lot of things that he talked about, like with black folks and that and everyday type struggles and stuff that, black folks go through and stuff that, you can relate to. So that's why I kind of had respect for that, because he went against the grain on what hip hop was actually promoting. And then when he comes out and he speaks like he's been speaking these past, like, what is it, 7 years now? Yeah, like you're almost. I'm pretty much through with them. But yeah, it's a sad thing.
Yeah, we learned a lesson during the Kamala Harris campaign that I would urge my foundational American brothers and sisters to never let our children forget. We learned that the entertainment class, for the most part, is bought out. They're bought and paid for. Dick Gregory tried to warn us. Dick Gregory said, "I'm a
Well,
guy."
Malcolm X did. Malcolm X warned you.
Yeah, but Dick Gregory did as well. Dick
Hmm.
Gregory said, "I'm an entertainer." He said, "Don't listen to shit I gotta say. What do I know about
Hmm.
politics?" Well, during the Kamala Harris campaign, we saw entertainers taking money to support causes. In some cases, whether they liked it or not. You know what I'm saying? Think about the Usher issue. And I'm not saying Usher took money, but y'all can read in between the lines. But what I'm saying is, what, like Dr. John Henry Clark said, we need to. It's time out for grandstanding and looking for grandiose talkers and showmen. It's time for some scientists, some scholars, and some people who just know, who lackluster, lame, everyday people who know what the fuck they talking about in the black community. Time out for Talib Kweli up there rapping. If you know what I'm saying, can you rap, man? Stay out of politics. Stay out of lineage based revolution, and go rap, please. I don't care
Well,
what you
he
think of.
he. Well, he apparently can't do that either, because there's a lot of people that don't like him. He's got a lot of issues within the industry as well. There's a lot of people that aren't really messing with him, and it's been going on like that for some years now. So yeah, I don't know. Hey, I thought him and Kanye were real tight until until Kanye went and called his ass out. So and
Well, the
that was.
Palestinians called for boycotting him. He was canceled in Germany.
Oh,
Wow.
really? Wow. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I'm
But
still
yeah,
looking it
man.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let me ask y'all a question, okay? Can I ask you guys another? Just I'll ask
Yeah.
just one
Ask me
more
one more
question,
question. We'll
right?
move on.
Yeah, I'll ask you one more question. So I was born in Canada, right? I
Okay.
was born in Canada, but my and where I'm from, I'm from a city called Windsor, right? And where I'm from, there's a lot of people like me, right? Like where they're like my biological father, he's from Detroit, and but a lot of people don't have this. Like my biological father's from Detroit, but my mother, she's also like was born in Canada, but her dad, my grandfather, is from he's from Virginia. So she's a dual citizen as well. All
Okay.
right. And so my lineage, right, is it goes from because I guess I'm part of three different tribes or whatever, but it's Virginia, Kent, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, and Louisiana. That's where my lineage is, right? That's where my people are, and we have family reunions and all that stuff, right? So what I'm asking is what, and this isn't no for me, this is not no reparations type thing for me. Like I'm not looking at it like that. I'm just wondering, like, because I'm tired of these Africans over here. Like there's nothing like the black people here. It's mainly Africans and island folks. That I'm not none of that. All right, I don't have like my all my grandparents told me that I'm not an African and I'm not an island. They actually laughed at that because
No,
I
I
asked the
got you, bro.
question.
I got you, brother. What's
Yeah,
your question? I follow you. What's your
my
question?
question is okay. So my question is, what would that be considered to you guys? Would I be a black? Would I be I would be Canadian, obviously, but would I be a Black American as well?
No,
Why
you're.
everybody
Go ahead,
sound
Hey,
so
Wani.
hey,
That's a
screwy?
hey,
Wani
Professor,
question.
I
hey,
just
Wani, Professor. This nigga was on Tariq Space a while ago. He asked the same fucking question.
Yeah, that's a Wani question. Go ahead, Wani.
why does it
Yeah.
sound like everybody's screaming?
I don't
Okay,
know.
so if your grandmother's and your mother's birth certificates say that they are born in the places you say that they're born, it shouldn't be a problem. If there's a claim to be filed, you'll have the paperwork. If your mother, you said, was born in Detroit,
No,
I
my
was.
mother was born in Windsor. She was also born in Windsor, but her father, my grandfather, he's
Uh-oh,
from Virginia.
it's getting far back now. Okay. Your grandparents were born in America.
Yeah, out of the four grandparents, three out of the four of them were born in the United States. All in
Okay.
the South, all in the South too.
Who was born in Detroit?
My father is from Detroit. Like my grandmother and her sisters, they came from Mississippi to the Midwest. And my grandfather, my biological father's grandfather came
Well,
from Alabama.
well,
He came from Alabama to
the
Detroit.
question would be who's following who would be following a reparations claim? You?
No, I'm not filing no reparations claim. I'm not doing none of that. I just wanted to know if would I be considered
Then why are you
like
asking?
something like that.
No,
Well, no, because
you would be considered a Canadian national. You're Canadian, and that's okay. Why would you want to be considered an American when you were born in Canada? That's my question.
because both of my parents. I mean, not both of my parents, but because one of my parents. Because I actually am I do have American citizenship.
Mm.
Like I've always been an American citizen as well since I
You
was
got
born.
dual citizenship,
Yeah, yeah. I'm a dual citizen.
but
Yeah,
you were born in
yeah,
Canada, so
yeah.
you're a Canadian. A Canadian. That's your nationality, Canadian, and that's okay.
Hmm. No, yeah. Listen, man. Hey, I'm not even mad at it, but I kind of get confused when you guys tell somebody else if they were like born in the United States and one of their grandparents were from where like Jamaica or
Mm-hmm.
like any of the islands or Africans,
Mm-hmm.
you would tell
Yes.
them that they're Jamaican or they are African
That's because
Nigerian or
they're,
whatever.
hold on. That's because they're acting
Okay.
Jamaican. You see, if they would act correctly and not be combative, then they would be acting like a Black American.
Yeah.
But
th-
9 times out of 10, they don't act like that. They get in the room, they're combative, and everybody ends up wanting them to go.
Well, the gentleman is. I want y'all to watch this. This is verbal jujitsu. When we, it is. It's flipping it around. Like we.
No, I'm just asking a question. That's all. I'm just asking a question because I'm
It's
actually
slippery. I'm
confused a
really
little
good
bit.
with logic. That's slippery
Okay.
because we when we call out people like Wani said for acting inappropriate, it's because they're being condescending with our lineage. I don't ever recall being on a space or ever recall being in personam with a foundational Black American who just flipped out on a foreigner for any reason whatsoever. In fact, I'm an '80s baby.
Mhm.
We have supported foreigners since I've been alive. You know what I'm saying? It's an action. The action. There are people on this stage right now who are foreign from Jamaica and from other places who are riders. They're down with us because they've never acted
Right.
inappropriately. So it's an action. Like the Tariq said this a bunch of times. It's an action. You know. But anyway, um, the,
I
the
got you.
black. What's on your mind? The black. Can you hear me? Y'all, I just got overcome with such a good feeling about 2025. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, that would be different than what we talked about earlier, but
I'm
hey,
so optimistic, like it just came over me like a movie. Like something, just a feeling said this year's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
it really is. It really is.
Eric John up,
Just walk into the new year with no fear
Eric Johnson up in this thing.
and have all the confidence in yourself that you can.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Eric Johnson, talk to us, man. I ain't even know you were there.
Yeah, I was hibernating. I was looking at these college football playoff games and stuff. Trying to win some money in the new year. But I just don't want people bringing last year's stuff into the new year because it's not confusing when you supposed to be looking up your lineage. And if either of your parents don't come from the Black American family, then I don't see that as a negative. But in certain situations, when it comes to reparations claims, especially when it comes to stuff that we actually need to get, I think certain people shouldn't have authorization, let alone be talking about our reparations claims. Especially like if they're not on code, and especially if they have like dual allegiance, because we get numerous examples of people butting into business that don't got nothing to do with them. And I don't really have nothing negative to say about other folks' reparations claims, but I would really want them to actually process this in their brains and actually want them to just focus on that instead of just coming into other people's spaces, just asking 21 questions like this is Nate Dogg and 50 Cent in a music video. So everybody just need to handle their own business in the new year. This is the new year, 2025. You can't be bringing last year's drama into this year's drama, because we already know what's going to be happening on the app. It's going to be the same shit, just a different day and a different year. So I suggest everybody just wash out the stench and the funk that happened in 2024, and just make sure that y'all have y'all Febreze bottles in 2025, because it's about to get real hectic, and we already in the new year, but it's still the same old shit on this app. So yeah.
Appreciate your submission, brother. Anybody else want to contribute? Did I miss anybody? I see you, Welson. Seattle Slim, what's on your mind, man?
Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm fair to middling. What about yourself?
I can't complain, can't complain. I'm sorry, man. I broke my train of thought. I
I understand. Take your time.
No, I'll come back later. I apologize, sir, for wasting your time.
You ain't waste my time. You good. I totally understand train of thoughts being breaking.
Yeah, thank you.
Shaquan, what's up?
What's good?
Oh,
You know,
numbers,
I
man. What's up?
come in and add a little tidbit on the on the subject at hand. Just like I feel like a lot of times these people are really these foreigners or whatever. That's what I call them. I call them foreigners. They're conflating themselves with us just to benefit off of what we got going. So if we really pay attention, none of these people really uh when they first came here, none of them sought out any allegiances with none of us. They went and built their own enclaves, religious communities, everything. And so it's best that we get the clue and understand that they're not here to help us. They're here to compete with us, enrich themselves, and they're just here for safe refuge. It's best that we make moves on behalf of ourselves and really trying to secure the future for our own children. But that's all I got to say. Happy New Year's, everyone. And let's stay on code all 2025. Peace, love, and reparations.
What he said was just straight to the point, and that's what Dr. Claude Anderson says. Dr. Claude Anderson says, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interacting with blacks. Stop right there. That's the game, ladies and gentlemen. Get it through your heads. Stop trying to be nice. Remember, nice means stupid. I'm about to put the epitomology of nice in the damn jumbotron. Hold on one second. Let's look at nice for 2025, ladies and gentlemen. What they tell them third graders: read silently as I read aloud. Let's do it.
That was such an interesting etymology on nice.
It's true. Yeah.
You know, my uncle showed me that last year. He's into all that stuff. He was big on that, and I remember him having me look that up, and I felt like such a fool because I was always trying to be like, I'm a nice person. I'm nice to everybody
Yeah.
until they do
Yeah.
something to cross me.
Let's talk. Let's talk. One of my things as a scholar is metacognition. That's what I focus on. Meta. That's a word you're going to hear a lot more and more. Facebook turned to meta. Meta means small, like quantum. Metacognition, small thought. The way you get kids or students rather to think about the way they think, which is what I try to do with y'all. Let's think about vibration. If you think of the creation story on Shabaka Stone, and it's in the Bible as well. Let there be light. There's a supposition there. Let there be light. Which comes first, sound or light? Sound. What is sound? Sound is vibration. Words have vibration. Vibration is creation. So, going back to metacognition, thinking about vibration, we want to look at the original vibration of the word. So, let's look at the Jumbotron, if you would, ladies and gentlemen. The word nice, be nice, originates from the Latin word nicius, which means ignorant, and originally had a negative connotation signifying foolish or stupid. Nice means stupid. And the English language is a warfare language. That's what it is. It's created for confusion. It's a hodgepodge. It's a gumbo of a whole bunch of different languages that's been constructed with intent of war, to confuse, to mislead. So you tell people be nice, you're telling them to be stupid. And the vibration of stupidity, you're agreeing and consenting to the vibration of stupidity. I'm a nice guy. What did I just say? I'm an ignorant guy. You know what? I don't know why girls don't like me. I'm such a nice guy. They don't like me because I'm stupid. I'm foolish. Get away from me, fool. Just called yourself nice. We got to learn what the fuck we say, man. We can get.
I just thought of something.
Go ahead.
When people say nice guys finish last,
Hell yeah, they do.
stupid guys finish last.
Foolish guys finish
Hey,
last.
professor, they don't call you nice; they call you creepy. They don't
Yeah,
call, they say get away from me, creep. That's what they say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Real talk. Um, who else? Did Wells? Wells, and you wanted to come up and speak? Oh, she's on listener. Okay. You know, I need to put my damn glasses on. Keep them on. I don't really like wearing glasses, but the older I get, yeah. So Dr. Claude Anderson further says. We're talking about wedges. I kind of went off on a tangent. So again, as a matter of fact, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interacting with blacks. That was the deal. Um, that was the when I say the deal in I forget the year, 1607, I think. I forget the year. In the 1600s, um the during the 13 colonies, you had a leadership class. Benjamin Franklin was part of them. You had the 13 colonies that would become the United States. Now the 13 colonies was exactly how the white male English class wanted it. If they could have it, this would be the 50 colonies in that same protocol. Absolute power over the people, right? Monarchy, not a monarchy, but like a fiefdom, a dukedom, right? The people didn't have any rights. It was a feudal type of situation. Well, to grow to make money for King James, I could go deep as shit. In my book, I kind of talked about this a little bit. I touched on King James, but King James of England wanted to make money with his tobacco trade. I don't know how many of y'all knew that. King James was growing cigarettes, the cancer sticks, right? And King James had a plan. His plan was to grow his tobacco in what would become America in Jamestown and in the surrounding areas. So Jamestown was named after him. Virginia was named after his wife because he never had sex with her, and she bragged on being a virgin. Why did she brag on being a virgin? Because he didn't like girls, he liked guys, right? Um, yep, I'm talking about the guy who rewrote the Bible. I'm talking about him. Well, anyway, back to the point before I get off in the weeds. King James had a business model, a business plan to enslave the Native Americans and get them to grow the tobacco for him, and so he could make his fortune across Europe selling his cigarettes. Well, the only problem was, how did he know about the Native Americans? Through Columbus's diary, which I put on page 1 of my book. Columbus, according to Columbus, I found that fucker's diary. According to Christopher Columbus, I said page 1 of my book. I'm not being factual. Page 4. According to Christopher Columbus, he said, quote, well, Christopher Columbus was a captain, right? And all captains have logs like Star Trek. Columbus said they, dot, dot, dot. I always wonder what that ellipsis means. What does that ellipsis mean? Because Christopher Columbus put they and put an ellipsis. Y'all think about it and y'all tell me what y'all think that ellipsis means. They, ellipsis, brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears of many other things which they exchanged for glass beads and hawks' bells. They willingly traded, I'm sorry, everything they owned. Dot dot dot. They were well built with good bodies and handsome features. Dot dot dot. They do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword. They took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron, their spears are made of cane. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. There's a lot of ellipsis in there. They, ellipsis. Handsome features, ellipsis. Why would he have an ellipsis after saying they have handsome features? Did he sexually abuse them? Anyway, my point is Columbus, when he never made it to America. He made it to what is now the Caribbean. He met the Arawaks, the Native Americans, and the Indians, whatever you want to call it. I hate that word Indian because it's such a misnomer. And he wrote in his log they would make fine servants. This captain's log was shared with Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, who shared that went into canon, which academic canon, which was shared with uh, the monarchs had access to it. So King James had access to Columbus's diary, and said, "Damn, that'd be a good idea. I'm gonna use them. They make fine servants. Let me use them to grow my tobacco." Only problem is Native Americans it was not in their culture to be slaves. They would go catatonic and just sit there and fucking die before were a slave. So long story short, Africans become involved in the slave trade. Africans were went and got to do the hard labor. Africans would frequently run away from the colonies, from the plantations in the 13 colonies, and they would run until they bumped into a Native American stronghold, and where they would be married into the stronghold and amalgamated. And they would find an enemy of my enemy, and I found a friend. They would do counterattacks on the white slave ownership class, and they fucking washed the 13 colonies for a long time until Benjamin Franklin wrote home to Mama and told the Queen of England, Your Majesty, they're going to kill us if we need help. The Queen of England reached out to their most brilliant tactician, a rotten son of a bitch named John Oglethorpe. He was a captain at the time, not 03, 06, that type of captain. And Captain Oglethorpe came up with a brilliant plan. Now, by the way, John Oglethorpe has a college named after him in Atlanta, where a lot of black people I know go. Why would they go to a school after John Oglethorpe? I don't know, but I digress. Anyway, John Oglethorpe came up with an immigration as warfare tactic, and that's what we're talking about. That's what we're dealing with. John Oglethorpe, Captain Oglethorpe, rather, later General Oglethorpe, sent degenerates. Now, I'm not judging the Europeans. I'm using words of academic canon. The books describe them as degenerates, pedophiles. What's the other one? The big one, the debtors. Like the people who the Queen of England didn't like in England, were sent to America to protect whites against the Native Americans and blacks. That's why we have the state of Georgia I'm in. It was called the Georgia Corporation. Um, so I brought that long diatribe up to show y'all that immigration was created as a tactic of warfare. The original deal by John Oglethorpe was, hey, immigrant, I know you're insane. I know you're starving. I know you're a rapist or a murderer. I know you can't pay your bills, but check this out. At least you're not black. If you come over here and you keep these black people in check, I'm gonna let you be a regular citizen. I'm gonna forget about your crime. I'm gonna forget about your debt. And that kept happening. That happened again with the Irish during the potato famine. That happened again with the Italians. And what threw us off, Black Americans, is it happened with the diaspora, with black looking people from Jamaica, from the Caribbean, and from Africa. It threw us off. We didn't see it coming. When we looked at them, we said they us, y'all. What did Steve Harvey say? Them Africans is us, man. Not really, but that's not the point. The point is a deal was made. It was not expressed, but it was implied that if you come over here and keep these Akatas in line, I'll let you get what you get. And that's what I see in Atlanta, a whole lot of that in Atlanta. And that's why Atlanta kind of frustrates me. I'm from Birmingham, so I kind of grew up going to Atlanta back in the 90s. We would all go to Six Flags, you understand? Um, and the Atlanta I see now is just not familiar. Back in the early 2000s, in late 90s, early 2000s, Atlanta was like a big Birmingham full of grandmamas, hot sauce, and outcast. Now it's like a foreign country, but I digress. Anybody else want to talk?
Well, I guess I'll just say for those on the Central Time, Happy New Year. They out there shooting and cracking fireworks right now. But what does that mean? Does that mean something to everyone in the room because they say it's Happy New Year right now, or do we make our own New Year?
Yeah.
I just came up with that out of the blue. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
There it is.
It's, Happy New Year
Happy
to
New
you.
Year, Nikki. I miss
It's
Central
not
Time.
time for me yet. I still got 3 hours to go.
You're in Los Angeles?
3?
No, I'm in Sacramento. No, 3. I
Second.
have 2. My bad.
You
Two.
have
2
two.
Yeah,
hours.
Yeah,
It's
we
10
because
have
you
o'clock. I
2.
have 2 hours. I have 2 hours.
you live in a
Yep.
Pacific Ocean.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was like, wait a minute.
No, my son has 3 hours. He's in Alaska.
wow. That's awesome. So
Does he like it?
go ahead.
Does he like Alaska?
He does. I told my family, I said, didn't y'all know I gave birth to a polar bear? He likes it. He did a whole picture where they go out and uh get in a draws and take a picture at that college in the snow. I was like, what's wrong with you? But
It's odd.
so I finally get to go visit him. I'm going up there for my birthday in April. So he's gonna take me to a hot springs. So that should be
That's
fun.
nice.
I'm excited. I haven't seen him. It'll be 2 years when I finally
Oh,
see
two
him.
years.
I
Wow.
miss him. Yeah.
That must
I'm
be
proud of
tough.
him.
Yeah.
He's my only child, and it's you know what though, it's tough. I miss him, but he calls me, he checks on me, he'll go, I'll be like, what you want? And he goes, I haven't talked to you in about a week, so I want to call and check on you, see how you doing. I was like, I'm so proud of him. So but he's a man, I he's always been pretty independent kid, and well, not a kid, he's a grown man now, but I mean, he's always been independent, and I'm really proud of him. He decided he was gonna make a big change in his life, and he's not married yet. He wants to wait till marriage before he goes and have kids. So he ain't brought me no grandbabies yet. He ain't got no illegitimates running around. So and he's just focusing on trying to get himself together. So yeah.
I heard that it's dark in Alaska for like 24 hours and it's light.
It depends on where you're at. He's in Fairbanks, so right now it's dark now, but in the wintertime they get like I think like the darkest time of year. I think they get like maybe 2 hours of sunlight. Well, not really sunlight, but daylight, shall I say?
Weird.
But in the summertime, the sun doesn't completely go down.
They have
It's
the midnight sun.
where he's at.
That sounds
He
awesome.
said the sun will start to set and then start coming right back up. So it doesn't completely set in the summertime.
Wow.
So He's got blackout curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's crazy. And the animals, they act like it's dark and they're doing all kinds of dark stuff in the night. And when you can see them, I
In the
was like,
daytime?
oh, is that what you guys are doing
Tell me,
in the
Ooh.
enlighten
dark?
me. What type of dark stuff? This is awesome, Wani.
He
Dark
did
stuff.
he did send me a picture of a huge moose out in his front yard next to his Jeep. I told him, tell Bullwinkle I said hello, but keep your distance.
That's he's lucky. Well, I saw some crows doing some things that you normally don't see them doing.
What were they like? Like together, congregated or something?
They were very chummy.
Hmm, that's interesting.
I saw a couple of sheep. They looked like they had on high heel shoes, and they were all chummed up.
Hmm, interesting.
Never could find out what kind of sheep those were.
Animals are awesome. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've enjoyed y'all tonight. I think we've addressed our topics. Do Africans use 23&Me to cosplay FBA? Well, we kind of proved that that was a yes. Uh, 25 equals 9. I got to explain that right quick. We're gonna let Saquon talk, and then we'll close. Um, in Egyptian numerology, the highest number is 9. They're and I could prove this. I do this to my students every once in a while and blow everybody's mind. Every number is an expression of another. So 310 is an expression of 4. How do you calculate that? Well, easy. You simplify it. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. So um, to see that what the Egyptians said has validity, one only needs to look at the number line. If you go past 9, everything repeats. So what's after 9? 10. Again, what's 1 plus 0? 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay, what's after 10? 11. What's 1 plus 1? 1 plus what plus 1 is 2, and so on and so forth. So the Egyptians believe the number of 9 is significant, other than being the number of God. It's a number of completion. And that's the year we're living in. 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. And 4 plus 5 is 9. We're living in a very interesting year. I don't know what this 9 is going to bring, but I'm optimistic. I think it's going to bring an end to our oppression. How? I don't know, but I'm optimistic. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed you. Saquon, you want to have last words?
Yeah, all I want to say is just going into this new year, like you said, I want to backdoor you on that words is power. I think that we should lead with grace with each other all year.
Yes, sir.
Um, Definitely, even with the people that you are idealistically opposed to, if they are Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, be there maybe a Pan African or Israelite or whatever he may be, lead with grace. Let's not get into trading barbs. We are in a a unique position to where we're setting a code, and we're getting a chance to set boundaries and things of that nature. So I think that we should lead with grace with each other all year, and just have a great new year. And I appreciate the space, brother.
Oh, I appreciate you, brother. All right, y'all. Happy New Year. And I will see some of y'all on Tariq Space in a couple hours or whenever it pops off. And I'll see the rest of y'all tomorrow. Peace out. Wani, any last words?
Good night. Happy New Year.
Good night.
Good night. Happy New Year, y'all.
Good night.